morning, everyone. Welcome to our first ever CSR Synopsis and our first online CSR event. My name is Melissa True, and I am Manager of Customer Service and Billing at Henry County, and I'm also the CSR Section President this year. Joining me in the office is Stacy Holton, our IEC liaison, and Belinda Huseman, Member Service Manager at Titmont REMC, who will be featured in our leadership panel later this afternoon. I also would like to take a minute and introduce the rest of our CSR Planning Committee. Vice President is Abby Asher from Decatur County REMC. Secretary is Nicole Pfeiffer from Kosciuszko REMC. And our Planning Committee includes Carmen Holmeyer, and she is from Northeastern REMC, and Amanda Pro from LaGrange County REMC. These gals have done an excellent job working hard to put this together today for everyone on very short notice. So we do appreciate everyone's help today with that. I know I don't have to tell you all that this is a very crazy time we've been living in lately. And we are very lucky to have the technology that we have today to be able to bring this to everyone and learn together as a group today. I want to take a minute to thank each of you for stepping away from your duties today and to experience this event. There are nearly 70 people today joining us online. This is a new endeavor for our CSR section group, and we hope that you extend grace with us today as we are learning and patience as we try to make the best, absolute best presentation for you through this process today. I'm going to now pass it over to Stacy, who's going to share with you some WebEx information and how you can navigate your screens.
Good morning, everyone. It's so fun to see all of your faces on camera. I wish that I could see everyone at once, but I can't. So the few of you I can see Deb, and I can see Carolyn and Abby. So this is very exciting. Just a couple of reminders. So when you are looking at your screen, you're going to see two video feeds from IEC, and that's going to happen all day today. One of them is the one that I'm on right now, and the other one is the PowerPoint presentation that says Talking with Humans, and you see Alex, and she's grabbing her head like this. Both of them are going to be up all day. We don't want to choose what you get. So we do that so that you can toggle back and forth between the speakers and the PowerPoint whenever you feel comfortable. Number two, gotta grab my clicker, sorry. This is the control panel that you're going to see at the bottom of your video screen. There's a couple buttons that I want to point out. The far left button that says mute and unmute up here on the presentation, it looks like a little microphone. That's how you turn yourself off and on. Go ahead and keep yourself off until you're ready to ask a question or participate in the discussion, because we want to make sure we're not getting a lot of feedback from everyone. The second button is the blue button. It's video off and on. That's how you turn your camera off and on. So when we want to see your beautiful smiling faces, jump on and make sure that that button is turned on. And then the third button that's important is the chat box, and that's the third from the right. That is your best way to get in touch with me if you have any technical questions, or while the speakers are speaking and you don't want to interrupt, you can chat through that box. I'm going to monitor it all day. One more thing I want to talk to you about is how to best view your screen. So on your video screen, if you hover over it, up in the right-hand corner, you're going to see two icons pop up. That is how you control your view of the screen. Icon on the left lets you kind of change the layout to gallery versus just one big person on the screen. Experiment and see what you like best. The icon on the right in the upper corner is called the floating panel. If you click on that, it's going to give you a ton of ability to take your windows and kind of move them all around your screen. If you're working with two monitors, this is really, really helpful because you can move different pieces to both monitors. So hopefully that's helpful for you. If you have questions, again, use that chat box. I'm going to be here all day to answer them. And have fun. This is going to be a really awesome day. I'm going to bring Melissa back over, and she's going to introduce our keynote.
Without further ado, I am excited to introduce our keynote speaker today, Alex Perry. Alex is the owner of Practically Speaking, LLC, which helps executives and their leadership teams develop the communication skills necessary to command rooms and deliver captive messages. Alex is a highly acclaimed motivational speaker, facilitator, and mentor, using strategies she learned in nearly 2 decades of studying powerful communication in workplace settings. She is nationally certified speech-language pathologist, has a background in adult neurology and emotional intelligence, and is an EQI 2.0 certified administrator. She's a TEDx speaker and coach member of Forbes Leadership Coaches Council. And most importantly, Alex blends her specific approach to leadership presence and public speaking with her love of storytelling, laughter, and humor. Please join me in welcoming Alex Perry as she teaches us how to speak with humans. Welcome.
Hi, everybody. I am excited to be here today, and just a couple of things about how this is going to roll. Number one, whenever you get humans in a room together and you mix it with technology, something is bound to get weird. If it does, that's okay. It's 100% okay, because we're going to make our way through it. It goes without saying that we are in a really, really unique time right now. There's lots going on. We're all walking into the room with different types of burdens on our shoulders, and stress, and dogs, and puppies, and you name it. But today is for you. And so we're going to get through it. If it gets weird, that's okay. If you lose the internet, that's okay. We're going to get you back on. If we mess up, we're going to ask for your forgiveness, and it's going to be all right. So I want to lead with that. I also want to tell you just a little bit about me and what to expect from today. This is a participatory experience, which I know might seem a little out of the norm from what you're used to, especially when it comes to navigating things like WebEx meetings and buttons, and we're over here trying to figure out volume. But I am going to encourage you to participate today, and there's lots of ways to do it. So you can participate via chat, you can participate by unmuting yourself and making a comment when I ask a question. So I really, really want to encourage you to do that and to take advantage of using the tools that we have to communicate, not just with me, but with each other, because, oh my goodness, the value that you guys usually get in something like this is that you get to be with each other. You guys are spread out everywhere. It's hard to connect sometimes. And so we know that we're missing that. We're missing that ability to gather together in close proximity. But we can do the best with what we have, and we can make today a really incredible experience. So I'm going to encourage you all along the way to do that. And I look forward to hearing from you as we go along. A couple of things about me. I am a speech language pathologist by background. My mission, my passion is to help people speak with confidence. That comes from spending nearly 17 years helping people who either by accident, by illness, by injury, lost their ability to speak. So every day I get up and I think, what would you say today if you knew tomorrow that you would never speak again? So I launched Practically Speaking with a mission to really help people speak, to talk like humans, and to be confident in who they are and what they do. Now, having said all that, it's really important as we go along that you know this one incredibly key thing about me, which is my native language is typo. For real. Okay, the last webinar I did, I was on a great roll. I was sounding really good, like I was just sounding good a minute ago, and I was talking. I was trying to say Google, and it somehow in my mind got messed up with Yahoo. So then I came up with Yougle, and I thought, well, we're just going to run with Yougling, which is now a new thing with a very small group of women that I talked to earlier. But I do speak in typo, so if for some reason I am unclear. Please check the number. Well, hello, customer service line. I told you stuff's going to get weird, and we're going to roll with it every single time. So anyway, I speak in typo. There is a very, very, very good chance that you will find a typo in this PowerPoint that comes. There's some very good chance. Here's what I want you to do when and if you find it. Okay, I want you to drop a comment in the chat box, because this is what I've learned to do. I'm a business owner, small business owner. Like, y'all are way cheaper than editors. So if you find a typo, please let me know, and then I will send you a Starbucks gift card. So that will work for me, it'll work for you, and we'll all be happy together.
Welcome to WebEx. Enter your access code or meeting
Welcome to
number
WebEx,
followed by
guys.
pound.
Can everybody hear that? Or is it just me? I gotta look at like faces. Deb is like for sure. So y'all need to know that from my view, I have a big PowerPoint that I can see, and then I can see like 6 of you, but actually I'm one of the 6, which is super weird. So I'm gonna be playing this by ear. As far as how today goes, we're gonna talk, we're gonna participate, we're gonna take a little break, and we're gonna have fun. All right. To start, the reason why we're here, and I know the vast majority of you are customer service representatives, and I want you to hear this one thing. If you hear nothing else that I say today, I want you to take this away, which is you already have everything you need to be an exceptional communicator. Y'all have been talking your whole lives, pretty much since the time you were a year old. You got this down. You already have all the skills. Your job, your role is not only ridiculously critical for your company, right? It's like, I think about we never think about customer service until we freaking need you guys. And then we're like, where are you? I need you right this, I need you this moment. And so I want to remind you that you already have all the skills that you need. And I know that you are about to face what for some of you is going to be just another astronomical challenge on top of what is already the challenge of COVID times. And that is that the moratorium is going to lift, and that you all are going to be faced with phone calls from customers, from people that you know that are in a situation that they have never been in before. And you're going to be the one taking the calls, and you're going to be taking them all day. And you're going to be the one answering the questions. You're going to be the one navigating the process. You're going to be the ones holding these people's hands. You already have everything that you need to do this. What I am here to do today is to remind you of some of the basics that you already know so you can lean on those, because what I know is when times get tough, and we're looking at a tough road for you guys, when times get tough, what we have to do is go all the way back to the basics and remind ourselves of what we know and hold tight to those things, because when we do that, then we can show up and you guys can do the job that you were meant to do, that you were designed to do, that you're exceptional at doing, that the company doesn't exist or run without you. The value that you provide, being the liaison between the company and the client, is invaluable. You guys are it. You are the champions. You are the people who handle the toughest stuff every day. So I want you to walk away from today knowing without a doubt that you have everything that you need. You've always had it. You're really good at this, or you wouldn't be in the role. And that you have specific skills that we can lean on and we can use to help you through this time that doesn't look like any other time that any of us have ever seen before. Do y'all hear me on this? Drop a little note in the chat. Do you hear me on this? You have got this. And I'm excited to walk you through some practice today, to walk you through some things today that will help so you can get comfortable again. I'm seeing, I get really excited about stuff, so you're gonna see it in my body. Lena laughs at me because I'm trying really hard not to walk everywhere, but I'm seeing all the comments, so thank you. Yes, do you hear me, you guys? Like, you are it. And so we're gonna practice some of this stuff today, we're gonna have fun today, and we're gonna remember that going in, y'all have what it takes to do this job or you wouldn't be here. All right. Talking with humans. We wanna make this way more complicated than it is. And we've been doing it our whole lives. And we've got some true complications around technology and things like that. But at our core, there are 3 things that you need to remember. 3 basic things that I'm going to talk about today that you need to remember in order to talk with humans. And number one is listening. Ooh, you probably thought I was going to go on and talk about talking. Nope, I'm going to talk about listening. I'm going to talk about how being clear is kind. And I'm going to encourage you to do some things that are really going to help your clarity when you're talking to your customers. And then we're going to talk about how perfection breaks connection. Your role, your job is to connect with the customers so you are able to help them pay their bills, get their service, do the things that they need to do. Your job is always that connection. And so we're going to talk about how when we get in our heads about being perfect or we try to do things perfectly, that really mixes us up and stops us from making the true connection with the other human on the other end of that phone. Does that all sound good? Can you give me a thumbs up, a smiley face, a heck yes? Does this sound good? We're going to listen. We're going to talk about being clear, and we're going to talk about how perfection breaks connection. Can you give me a heck yes? I got Mindy says yes. I got Amber. I can see Amber. There are not very many faces on my screen, so it makes me happy when I see it. I see lots of yeses. Thanks, Brad. Yes. Yay. Okay. Phenomenal. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Because right now, I don't know if you can tell, I'm looking at a small circle that makes no eye contact back with me. Not at all. It's okay. So I appreciate all of the cheers. Listening. I have a question for you guys. When was the last time you felt like someone truly listened to you? Drop that in the chat box. Or if you're feeling super brave, unmute yourself one at a time, and I'll wrangle that craziness if it happens. But if you can, unmute yourself and tell me, when was the last time you felt like someone really listened to you? Melinda says it's been a while. Who else? When I pay them to do so. Oh, Jamie. Phyllis says it's been a while as well. I feel you on the I have to pay people to listen to me. Jamie wins for best comment in this thread. When was the last time someone really listened to you? Yesterday. When you get so desperate and you're just at your wit's end. Right? So that moment of, I'm going to find somebody to listen to me, and by golly, I mean, maybe this doesn't work for you, Jamie, but it's how it works for me. I'm like, you will listen to me. I will use as much volume and as much sound and as much body movement to get you to listen to me. Who else? Yesterday. Oh, the Hubs is fabulous listener. Yay for Marcy's Hubs. Good job, Hubs. What does it feel like when someone takes the time to listen to you? I didn't freeze. I also didn't prompt you to put it in the chat. Feels fabulous, refreshing. It makes you feel like you're important, like you matter. Like what you're saying matters. That they care, that it boosts your confidence. I have to say, Shelby says something about maybe I might have missed all that. Validated. When we are listened to, it meets a basic fundamental need. Y'all are familiar with Maslow's hierarchy of needs. This is now the new updated version. You see it on your screen. I had to giggle because we're all like, please don't take our Wi-Fi away. Please don't take our Wi-Fi away, please. We don't know. But when we look at the hierarchy of needs, like our psychological safety, our physical safety, our emotional safety, that all comes from being seen, heard, and valued. I know you guys know this. the basic fundamental needs of humans are to be seen, to be heard, and to be valued. And so this is where listening becomes so incredibly important in your roles, because you are going to be taking on calls that are going to be so outside the norm, if I'm understanding this correctly. And by the way, if I get it wrong, hop in and say something. Let me know if I'm missing the mark here. But y'all are going to be handling calls that you've never handled before. So you're used to, as customer service representatives, you're probably used to the calls from the folks who are like, yeah, I haven't paid my bill in 6 months. I'm going to get around to it at some point, or whatever the story is, right? Repeat offenders, folks where it's been a continual struggle. But we've got a new breed coming our way, don't we? We've got something new and we've got something challenging. We've got folks who have spent their entire lives never missing a payment, never having to struggle, never knowing, whoa, like, do I really have to worry about this? And so we're going to be fielding calls from folks that have been furloughed, or their spouse has lost their job. They're under tremendous pressure, like we all are, because of the changes that COVID has brought to us. And the most important thing that you can do for these folks when you start these conversations, when you have to make the call, is to be willing to listen. Now, as we think about listening, I think the funny thing is, we spend a lot of time training on how are we going to talk to people? What are we going to say? Like, give me a thumbs up if you got the customer service training that said, here is the script, here is what you say, here are the 7,000 things that you need to do when you pick up the phone. Is that a thing for you guys? Am I right? Is that real for them? Yes. So you get trained on that piece. I know exactly what I need to say. I mean, I got to tell you, I have a master's degree in communication. Master's. I spent my entire career teaching other people how to talk. And I took exactly zero, here's your statistic. I took 0 classes on how to listen. From the time that we are wee little bits of humans, little tiny humans, we're expected to listen, but no one ever actually teaches us how to listen. What are the things that we need to do? It's just like, listen. I don't know. Y'all have kids? Y'all have kids. What do you yell at them? I'm looking at my girls over here. What do you yell at them? Listen to me. Sit down and listen. Focus. Oh. And I'm like 4 and I'm going, what does focus mean? I don't understand. So there is a huge skills gap that we have in the world of communication, in the world of education. Like, don't get me started on that. I'm going to stay off the education platform, but the way we train up our tiny humans to, like, we got some work to do. And we're taught to think of how are we going to speak to these people first versus how are we going to listen. And so as you are looking at what you're going to do, as the moratorium lifts, as the calls come in, as you're dealing with people that you know and care about, your clients, the people that you showed up to serve for, I want you thinking about how to listen. Now, my job, my role, as I have always seen it in this realm, in the communication realm, is not to bury you with, like, here are the 17,000 researched ways to listen to other humans. If you all want that particular thing, I'll find someone to do it for you, but I'm not going to do it. Listening to other people requires really 2 things. Ooh, the best way to make my children listen when they were little was make them sit on their hands. They couldn't move their hands. I missed the rest of the comment. But she said, sit on your hands. They said they couldn't talk while they were sitting on their hands? That's funny. And of course, like the sarcastic part of me, by the way, I also speak sarcasm, so I'm going to preface it. The sarcastic part of me says, would that work for adults? And then I think, is that going to work for me? Because clearly I'm a hand girl. But it's my job to talk right now. I promise I'll listen too. Listening, I don't want you to make it more complicated than it has to be. The type of listening that I'm going to talk to you about today, you've heard it before, is active listening. So active listening really requires you to do two things, which are, I'm going to write this down, and maybe Stacy can put them in the chat too. So two things for active listening. Number one is giving signs of affirmation. So a head nod. If you're on the phone, it's a It's some sort of indication that you hear the other person. We rely on that. If you've ever spoken to someone that gives you zero feedback, which you may get on a phone, I'm sure you've gotten on a phone before, but that person that shows no indication that you've talked for 5 minutes, they show no indication that they've heard you. Yep. So you're giving signs of affirmation. And then the other thing that you're doing, and this is really simple, and yet we tend to want to pull away from doing it, is repeating back what you heard the other person say. Also known as paraphrasing, also known as summarizing. But those are really the two things that are required for active listening. And they're critical because the person that you're listening to wants what? They want to know that they've been heard. How do they know that they've been heard? The best way to show them that they've been heard is by saying back to them what you heard them say. Now, I'm going to steer clear of whether or not, we're not talking about whether you agree with it, whether or not they're right. Like when we start getting egos and all sorts of stuff playing into this, that's when we get into trouble. But y'all, you can do this, and it's really easy, and it's super affirming to the other person. Think about the comments that we got about what does it feel like to really be listened to. That person heard what you said, they gave you signs of affirmation, and they were able to tell you back what you said. Based on the scenario, you may or may not have a problem to fix. In the case of you guys, there is a problem. There's for sure this big, awkward, embarrassing, oh my gosh, we're a business and we've got to get paid. This is a person who's experiencing real life drama and trauma. And somehow or another, we got to figure out how we're all going to get this very neutral substance called money to exchange hands. How are we going to help that person do it so it helps us? And it starts with how we listen. Now, I promised you that this was going to be a participatory experience. And I'm going to ask, how many of you, I'm going to guess that most of you are not so much worried about the calls that you are super familiar with, the calls that are going to go well, the calls that you do every day, and it's like, oh yeah, I got to pay this or I've got to do that. My guess is that when you are thinking about this, that little nag or that feeling of discomfort about what's coming in your job. First of all, don't let me make an assumption here. Are you all feeling some tension and some worry about what's coming with this? Can you give me a response so I know? Or are you feeling good and like, hey, I got this, no problem? Okay, Melissa feels absolutely, there's some anxiety, there's some concern. Fear of the unknown, we don't want to be on the wrong side of it. Ooh, the wrong side of the conversation, am I understanding that right? Lots of concern, right? Oh, worried about tears and getting emotional when listening to their story. Can I put a pause on the scenario stuff and address that for just 1 second? Because I'm going to challenge you to think about that differently because we're taught in the professional world that we're not allowed to cry or feel emotion or don't show. There's a place and space that says you're allowed to feel emotion with people. What you do from there in terms of how you execute your job is a different category. But I sure do want you guys to feel with your customers. I want you to feel, I want you to get emotional, and I want you to look at this and say, oh my gosh, we get it. And we have a boatload of resources to help. Yes, Shelby says, you want members to feel like you really care about what they're going through. Doesn't it feel amazing? Think about a time when you've been upset and you've called a good friend, or maybe not even a great friend, but somebody, maybe you've just had a time in the office where somebody was there for you when you were really upset. And they sat and they listened and they felt the emotion with you. The bonus of what you guys get to do is that you guys then have the resources to say that we are going to get you through this. So Stacy was kind enough to send me a lot of the marketing materials and the resources that the co-ops have put together in order to help people get their bills paid. And you guys have a boatload of resources. So you get this bonus, if you choose to look at this as an opportunity, you get this opportunity to sit with your customers in this space and say, yes, we know it's hard. Yes, I'm feeling this with you. And you get the bonus of saying, and I can help. Here's what we're gonna do. I think that's pretty freaking amazing. I get really excited about that because I see a lot in the world today of the, well, I call it the aimed at awfuls. There's just nothing to be done. There's the panic, then all of this is going wrong. And, you know, I have a friend that I work with, and he calls it Chicken Little syndrome. He's like, the sky is falling. And for sure it feels like that sometimes, but y'all have a boatload of incredible resources that you can do to use to help these people. So back to where I was going, because I kind of went on a tangent, but I think it's really important to note, I don't want you to be afraid to feel with your customers. I don't want you to be afraid to get emotional with them. I want you to use that emotion to fuel you to say, we're gonna find a way. That's called resilience, right? So when we can say, I've listened to you, I have felt with you, I am with you in this, and we're gonna find a way to make this happen. Oh man, if I am a person who is stressed out, I'm thinking about if I called you and I was stressed out about not being able to make my payments and you approached me that way, I make best friends easily, by the way. I'd be like, you're my best friend ever, right? I would be so relieved. And it would be so outside of the norm of what you typically see in customer service today. I want y'all to be the type of phone call where people say, I went in thinking that this was going to be rough, but oh my gosh, how did those people support me? How did Shelby step up? How did Melissa step up? I can't believe when I talked to them, I was so worried that this was going to be hard. But they helped me along the way. So in that light, so we can get used to what this is like, because I would be lying to you if I said that there isn't this element of that we've got to get prepared and we've got to get ready, and that requires practice. We've got to get ready for these calls. We've got to get ready to handle the emotions and the drama that is going to come out of this. And the first place to start in this is to practice listening, not talking, but to practice listening first. Are you all game for this? Because I'm gonna push you outside of your comfort zones. Like we're not already here. Could that have been a weirder thing to say? Is there anyone who's currently inside their comfort zone, just like, oh, hey, Here I am in my comfort zone. It's not weird at all to only talk to a circle on a wall. So funny. I'm making them laugh. I hope you guys are laughing too in your offices or whatever. But I want to push you outside of your comfort zone because I can get these gals to do this scenario practice with me, but what I know as a trainer and a facilitator is that the benefit of this really comes from when you engage. So could I get maybe 2 volunteers who would be willing to put themselves outside of the norm and run through this scenario with me? I'm going to walk you through all the steps, and I want you to read this, and I'm walking closer mainly because I can't see the print. I didn't bring my glasses. Ooh, oh, now I'm getting hold on. All right, so here's the scenario. I'm going to need 2 volunteers to play this out. So I'm going to read it. I'm going to give you a chance to think about it, and then I'm going to encourage you to come and play along. All right. So Mr. Smith is a customer who, up until now, has never missed a payment. Now, because he's being laid off due to the COVID crisis, he's months behind. You call at an inopportune moment, which is always the way it happens, isn't it? Hey, we don't have some sort of radar for like, this is the best moment ever to call. It's usually, if we're going to call, it's going to be at the worst moment. So you're calling to inform him that the payment is now due. He quickly becomes agitated and starts yelling at you, saying, "Don't you understand what I'm going through?" My 2 volunteers, I need a customer service representative volunteer, and then I need a Mr. Smith. So step 1 of this is going to look like customer service rep. You get to listen for 1 minute while Mr. Smith yells at you. You're going to take notes. What is he saying to you? What words is he using? Mr. Smith, your job is to create as much drama as possible directed at the customer service representative and just lay into them, let them have it. Pretend that you've been on hold with Comcast for 9 hours is what I'm asking you to do. It's funny because it's true, right? Y'all are so much better than this. Like, I know you. So do I have 2 volunteers who are willing to role play this out virtually in this session for us today? We have 61 people here. How many of you have crawled under your desk? I can't see you, so it's okay. Who's willing to unmute and take over the role of customer service representative? All right. I hate to do this, but I'm being coached from the side. Nicole and Abby, can I hear your voices, please?
I'm here. Hi.
Hi, who's this?
I'm trying to get my CEO to actually be Mr. Smith.
Wait, where's the CEO? Can I see him?
Oh, yes, he can step right on over here.
That would be perfect. You guys are in the same room.
If I get fired, you guys owe me.
Oh, don't look at me. I'm just here. Hello, Mr. CEO.
I'm not supposed to be on until 1 o'clock, I believe.
I'm Alex. Hi, how are you?
Yeah,
Are you willing to be Mr. Smith for us today?
I can try to be Mr. Smith.
Okay, awesome. What's your real last name?
Carver.
We're going to go with Mr. Smith.
That works.
Okay, and who is my customer service representative? Nicole. Nicole, where are you?
Here. I'm in the same room.
Right beside me.
What I love is the tone, like, here. She's like, I'd rather poke out my eyes. But I appreciate the willingness to jump in and participate. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to grab my phone really fast so I can get like the full effect of a full minute. And I'm going to have you guys role play this out. Okay, so hang on 1 second.
No hitting.
I have to listen. listen to you.
I'm not responsible for what happens in the office after I leave. Okay. Do y'all have in mind what you're going to say to each other? What you're going to do? You know your roles. All right. On your marks. Set. Go.
Hi, this is Nicole calling from, well, answering from Kosciuszko REMC. How may I help you today? Sir, is there something I can help you with?
Yes, I've got a note. I just got a notice that you're going to disconnect my power overdue bill.
Okay, all right, let's look at this bill and see how we can help you with this. Okay,
First off, let me tell you that I've lost my job because of this COVID-19. I haven't worked now for months. I have custody.
Oh, I'm going to stop for just a second. Stop for just a second. Get work done. That's way too nice.
Way too nice. Okay.
Way too nice. I want you to think about it from the aspect of like, I got this. Like, it has been a really crappy day. It's been an awful day, and now we're on the phone trying to handle this. All right,
No.
try again, please.
act like somebody made you angry.
Okay. I'm gonna get the inside. Okay, you just called me to disconnect my power. I cannot believe you have to shut my power off. I have custody of my grandkids. I'm trying to feed them right now, and now you got me worrying about paying my bill.
Okay, I hear what you're saying, sir. Let's just take a moment to look at this and see what we can do to get you through this.
No, you don't get it. I lost my job 3 months ago. I have no money in the bank. I have had this happen, that happen. You've got to work with me.
Okay, we can totally work with you. Let's take a look. Let's first of all hand you out some phone numbers that we can do to help pay your bill during this moment.
Wait a minute. You're not hearing me. I've been a good member for years. I've never been late on my bill. And now you're telling me you're going to get me help. How can you help me?
Okay, all right, let's work through this together. Let's just take a moment. Let's try to see what we can do to get you through this. We're not going to disconnect your power if you can work with me and I can work with you. Let's really just work through step by step. The first thing I would like to do is give you some.
Let's stop you there.
Oh, gosh.
You made it to a minute. You made it to a minute. That's the real Kurt, is what someone said. Well, much better acting. Y'all chime in for a second. What did you see in here? And is there anything that you would do differently?
That means we did great. I'm not seeing any comments.
She's like, I see no comments. We're out. We're good. We're getting comments from in here that you were still too nice. Kurt.
He didn't cuss at me.
I'm trying not to.
Right, try not cussing. But the likelihood is that you probably will get some. She repeated some of what he said. That's what I heard as well. Not enough yelling and not enough mirroring back what Kurt was saying. Okay. So launching right into here's how I'm going to help versus validating what Kurt said, which was, I hear you. You have lost your job. You haven't been able to pay your bill for months. You're really frustrated. We shy away from acknowledging that because it's uncomfortable, but that's really what Kurt was looking to hear. And he said it. He actually did a really good job as Mr. Smith saying, you're not hearing me. When you hear someone say, you're not hearing me, what that person is looking for is for you to mirror their words back. Exactly. Not with your own spin, not, yeah, he said, wait a minute. Yeah, wait a minute. Like, you just like, I need you to acknowledge my pain and discomfort first before I can even get to like, y'all pissed me off because you sent me a letter. Is really what he's like. There's that piece, right? I got this letter and I'm under stress and I need you to just wait a minute. I need you to hear me out that I feel overwhelmed and stressed because of this. So when you hear someone say, "You're not hearing me," your job, your role is to pause and to say, "Okay, I'm going to listen and I'm going to pick up those words and I'm going to mirror them back." What else did you all hear?
I think Mr. Smith was right on point. It sounded just like many.
Wait.
Well, she made it.
Yeah. So this is the conversation that you're going to have on repeat in many capacities, probably for hours on end. So our goal is to fortify you. All right. So I need my volunteers to stay with me now. All right. So our minute is up. And customer service representative.
I'm going to put a comment. Actually, I'm going to speak up really quick because one of my coworkers had a really good point. Is some customers or members get really offended when you try to offer them help. You should, as her response was, is you should ask if they're open for that help because they're taking it as handouts. So I feel like that's a really good point that she's bringing up.
Yes, yes. It speaks to the point of you've got folks that have prided themselves for a long time on doing the right thing and making the right choices, on having their bills paid on time. I mean, I feel that way myself, right? So that extension of offer of help before they're ready for asking permission, can I give you some ideas of ways we might be able to help? That's brilliant. Thank you for contributing that. People have never missed a payment, have a hard time putting that pride aside to get help. Yeah. So remembering as you walk in these conversations, where listening helps, where asking questions helps. And I'm going to give you in a little bit some things that will help around the language of sympathy versus empathy. And that I'll encourage you to take a picture of that particular slide. Anything else? Any other insights? Engage the member in to a resolution with you. Yes, involve them in the process. It's that we are all independent beings and we want to be involved. We want to make our own choices. We want to be educated, make educated decisions. Good point. Anything else? All right. So round 2. Play this out for me a little bit more.
I think there's needs for other volunteers.
Oh,
Yeah.
Kurt's like, please. No, we're gonna play it out with you guys for now. But there's more. There will be more. I promise you. So I want you to take a minute, okay? Like regroup. Kurt, you're gonna start back with this, and then my customer service rep, you're gonna come in and say, "Let me see if I've heard you correctly." You're gonna mirror back. All right. And maybe even add in a little bit of that piece of, can I offer you some options for how we might be able to work together? Are you guys ready?
Sure.
The camera doesn't lie. All right, go ahead and start. I'll time you.
Yeah, think of that. So when you're getting angry.
They're trying to make me mad.
We're trying, yeah.
You called him trespass.
Coworker's trying to make him upset over here so he knows how to actually go get it.
How often do you have like a meeting where you're like, let's see how mad we can get the CEO? Is that a thing?
Zero.
Exactly. This is so far out of the comfort zone. You guys, if you were here, I would give you awards and prizes.
There's you can mail it. No, I'm just kidding.
Put your address in the chat and I will send you guys presents. Okay, whenever you're ready to start, begin.
Hi, this is Nicole from Kosciuszko REMC. How may I help you today?
Yes, I just got a letter in the mail stating that you want my bill paid up because you're going to disconnect my power.
Okay, I hear what you're saying. You are worried about us disconnecting your power. Let's look at your account and see how we can help you with that.
Yes, I'm worried. I've never been late a day in my life on my bill. And now you say you're gonna disconnect my power.
Okay, I hear exactly what you're saying, that you're worried about us disconnecting your power. Again, let's work through this and see if we can get you through this process.
No, I don't want to work through it. I shouldn't have to pay my bill under these circumstances.
Okay, all right, sir, are you open to some help that I can offer you?
Now you're telling me I need help. I don't need help with anything.
Okay, I hear what you're saying. This is totally frustrating you. Let's work through this. Let's sit down and start with the first scenario. Obviously, you can't pay your bill because some things have happened, which I completely hear what you're
Yeah,
saying.
I lost my job.
Okay, all right, I understand the frustration completely.
Her whole face is like, when do I get to stop?
Okay, would it offend you, or are you open to me offering you some numbers for some financial help? I understand this is totally out of your realm, but you are a paying customer, you're a taxpayer, and at some point you just need to reach out and ask for help, and that's what these people are here for.
Well, how long do I have to pay my bill?
We can set up some payment arrangements. We can work with you to try to get you through this. We're looking to make arrangements out until November. If that would help, I would be more than happy to sit down and break them down in weekly payments for you, based on when you get paid once you do go back to work. Would that help your scenario?
Yes. I appreciate you willing to work with me.
Okay, all right. So thank you so much. Let's just get through this
Kurt says,
process
I'm
right
going to put you out of your misery.
Oh, my.
Well then, hey, everybody clap where you are. We're not yet. You guys still aren't. You're not officially done yet, but you're not officially done yet. Thank you. Tell me what you heard and what you saw, audience. What did you like?
You offered.
How did it go?
Assuming.
Okay.
Nicole, you really tried to repeat what he was saying. The feedback in this room. Here's the piece that I saw that I want y'all to consider. Now, some of this, knowing that I've got two folks who are like, I do not want to role play this scenario. So let's go through it really fast. But isn't that the case? So when we think about listening and we think about these calls, they're uncomfortable and we want to get out of them as fast as we possibly can. However, where I would coach Nicole in this is to look at it and say, he's trying to talk to you about losing his job, how uncomfortable it was, and all of that, and all of the stress that he feels, and now he's got this thing. So instead of launching right to the solution, which is what we do, right? So we're problem solvers, we're fixers, we're humans, we're like, oh, I've got the solution, I've got the thing to fix for you. As a customer, as someone who has been a part of this organization for as long as Mr. Smith has, my encouragement, my coaching would be to take the time to really sit and listen. Tell me about it, Mr. Smith. Tell me, would you be willing to tell me what happened? How is your family? What sorts of things have been going on? And then taking the time to listen to that before launching into, here's the 17 ways, I'm just going to go through you really fast. I should have said to him that I'm here to listen to you if you need to vent. Exactly. The folks that you're talking to may not have any other place where they feel safe to go or feel like they can go to talk about this. They're already upset. They're feeling vulnerable. They're feeling anxious. So if you can open up the door to, I notice a lot of people are in this struggle. You want to talk to me about it? Tell me what's going on. And then zipping it and listening. What else did you guys notice or see?
That I was trying to punch him? No, I'm just kidding.
That he was trying to punch him. We don't hit our customers. Okay, guys, don't hit your customers. None of that.
Henry County REMC that we liked how she said we're going to work and get through this together.
Yes. I like how we're going to work and get through this together. We aren't meant to do life alone. It's a very scary place to feel like you're alone. And oftentimes what we see as anger is really fear. In fact, every time someone's angry, there's a fear under base of that. So if you can get quiet and listen to what they really need, which is probably most importantly just to be heard, then you can get around to helping them. Love the idea. Oh, good.
I'm sorry, Marcy also says that she agrees with Henry. Work through this together gives the member the chance to tell you what they are able to do.
Yes, work through it together. Tell me what you are able to do. Let them be part of the solution to help guide and dictate what's going to happen next. Okay. Agree. So practice step number 3. And I'm going to make sure we didn't kind of already do this just for time's sake. I think we're pretty close. He's feeling agitated. How might he respond? He might respond if given options. How might he be treated? So I'm going to save the practice and throw this out to the audience. If he's feeling agitated, overwhelmed, and has been heard, how might he respond? How might he respond being given options? And as always, how is he going to respond when he's been treated with respect? Right?
What is it?
With more reason. You have to take it personally.
Yep. Oh, yeah. I'm going to zip forward. Well, hold on. Yeah, I'm going to zip forward for just a second because the slide should really go here, which is remember that when you're making these calls, whatever you're experiencing with a Mr. Smith has absolutely nothing to do with you, customer service rep Stephanie, as a person. It's not personal, frustrated at the system, frustrated about the circumstances. Every person is walking around with their own unique set of stresses, of struggle, of difficulty. And at the end of the day, it's just not about us. And we have this opportunity when we know that and when we embrace that we can then show up as someone who is willing to help, not fix. And there's a big difference between helping and fixing, right? We're not gonna be able to fix all of Mr. Smith's problems, but we can help him with this one thing that might make the rest of his life just a smidgen easier. I'm gonna go to empathy versus sympathy. If I am making you nauseous with my PowerPoint, I'm sorry. Forgive me. I'm trying. But I want you to take a screenshot of this and I want you to put this up somewhere where you can see it because it gets really easy in these conversations to get to a point where, again, the ain't it awfuls, isn't this hard, right? I don't want you talking with sympathy with folks. Sympathy doesn't work, but empathy does. So I hear you. How can we move through this? What would help? Given our current set of circumstances, how can we succeed? Like, what does success look like for you, Mr. Smith, in this scenario? Paying $1 a month? Is it getting signed up for a program? What is it? There was something from Deb.
Sorry, guys. I don't know how to get it back up.
Thanks, Deb. I mean, I would go back, but I'm not going to derail all of us. But if you saw it, I believe you. It's there. Told you I speak typo. All right. Really quickly. Any questions or thoughts? Kurt and Stephanie, what was challenging about this for you?
Well, I'm Nicole.
Oh,
so
Nicole,
there's a typo.
Nicole! I have to do the shame walk of names. Dang it.
I'll get my mailing address to you.
Yes, you will. Like the gift pack keeps getting bigger. Y'all, I'm a solopreneur in the middle of COVID. I only got so many dollars, but I owe her a lot. I owe you a lot.
It's okay. No worries.
All right, tell me what was challenging. What would you do differently? What did you learn or relearn in this exercise?
I know it's a lot different, obviously, just because he is right here in person, and also he's not an actual member of ours who's physically going through that. I feel like as a member service representative that the empathy is so much more there when the real situation actually happens. Whether you start to cry with them, you hear from them. I can definitely probably speak for my girls that run the front counter, like their emotions are completely in it. And there are times that they are crying, and we've learned that we are counselors for them. And just looking at it in that point of view is a lot easier than having them having a made up scenario, of course.
Sure. Anything y'all would do differently?
I would have listened a little bit more and probably had stated that I'm sorry to hear this. And if you have some more that you would like to vent to me about, I'm definitely here to listen.
I'd probably just try to be a little meaner.
I feel like if things go poorly this afternoon, that somehow I hold some amount of responsibility for that. Don't make your CEO mad, guys. That's just don't. There. PSA from Alex. Love me. What did you all, audience, all of you, what did you learn or relearn by watching this task, watching this role play? What was something that was learned or relearned for you?
I was listening to understand, not to respond. Not to just think of firing back, think of actually
To understand.
I was going to say understand.
To respond.
Listen to understand and not to respond, right? Listening to fix. I don't know how many of you are guilty of that. To listen, give them their time. Time is a gift. Yes, it really is in a time like this. That we are the humans. Yes. Too much talking can be a hindrance. Keep it simple. Don't be thinking about what I'm going to say while the member is talking. Oh my goodness. Yes. How many of you are guilty, like I am guilty, of thinking about what I'm going to say next instead of how I'm going to listen to this person? Don't have a response ready, right? Empathy goes a long way. Oh my gosh, you guys are like, thank you so much, number one, for being in this like we're in it today, because this is definitely not a normal set of circumstances. But thank you so much for responding and being so active in the chat. That's so helpful. Awesome sauce. Okay, we are at 11:11. I'm going to give us just like a 5-minute stand up, stretch, and take a little break before I go through the next two pieces. This is your opportunity to show me your babies, your dogs, like whatever fun thing that you have. But I want you to just take 5 minutes, get up, get a drink of water, and then we're going to come back and we're going to do the next two pieces of this How to Talk with Humans. And of course, there's going to be a little bit more practice, just a little. All right. Thank you, guys. Seriously.
Really fast.
Okay. Oh, hand sanitizer. All of the hand sanitizer. Why did I not buy stock in hand sanitizer? All right. So I told you today we were going to talk about, are we all ready to roll? All I see are little screens that don't talk back to me. So hopefully all of you are ready to roll with this. As always, I am willing to go over something again. If somebody misses it, wants a repeat, or needs an extra something, I will give you all of my contact information at the end. So here to do that if you need me. I see some folks, we're rolling back in. All right, so I can keep us on track to be done at noon. I want to talk about being clear. So being clear with your customers, this is a piece that I do with every group that I talk to. So the reminder that our customers don't speak our business language. So, and I want you to talk like a human, which means all kinds of stuff and things that we need to eliminate and be cognizant of or aware of when we're talking to the customers. So I give this example frequently. My role as a speech language pathologist, I spent 6.5 years on the brain injury unit. And I worked with folks that you would see them in every kind of situation. So everything from car accidents to gunshot wounds to, oh, you name it. People who fell off their roof. Ouch. People like Lena who tripped over mulch or sunk into mulch and hit her head. Those were my patients. And so when you're talking to people, and especially when they're under stress, our ability to process information, that cognitive load gets really, really high. So you've got somebody like Mr. Smith who's already under a lot of stress and duress because of his financial situation. He's worried about his safety. He's worried about whether or not he's going to have power. He's worried about money. He's worried about all these things. And so his brain can only handle so much information. When I worked in the hospitals, it's the same sort of concept as when I would talk to a family member. So if I would go in, and I just want you to imagine this for a moment. If I'm a therapist and I'm walking in to a room to talk to you about your loved one who was in a car accident, and you just want to know, is he going to be okay? Is he going to be able to think? Is he going to be able to eat? Is he going to be able to talk? But I come at you with something that sounds like this. Stephanie, your husband was in an MVA. He suffered a coup contra coup injury resulting in diffuse axonal injury. This has subsequently resulted in mild to moderate dysphagia, receptive and expressive aphasia, and ataxia. We're going to have to do therapy, BID, for 3 to 6 months in order to get him to where he is at baseline level. Do y'all understand? Did anybody understand what I said? Yes. Girl, English, please. Is he dead? Is he? The monitor's still going. Yes, wow, girl, English, please. I bring this up in every talk I do because we speak the language of our business and we get accustomed to doing it, and we talk about it all the time around each other at work, around our colleagues, our coworkers, but our customers don't speak our language. So we have to be very, very mindful. What I actually told you about Stephanie's husband was that he was in a car wreck. He hit his head pretty hard, so much so that his brain bounced forward and backwards. He now has trouble understanding. He now has trouble eating. He now has trouble speaking. It's going to take me seeing him twice a month for several months before we get him back on track. Way easier to understand, way easier. So I'm going to challenge you in this next couple of minutes to think about some of the language things that you use, the things that you do that might be creating a barrier between you and the customers that you're talking to, especially during this time. Because remember, go back to our folks are under stress and duress, just like we've all experienced what I call the collective trauma that is COVID. It's like one big, gigantic car accident in our nation, and people are wandering around on the side of the road. They are, we've got some people who kind of just slid off. We've got other people who are pinned. People are in a state where it's really tough to understand all the nuances of things that are going on. And so we've got to make it easy for them. All right? You all, it took one email for me to find all of these things. One email from Stacy. I don't know what those things mean. In fact, I know we kind of joke about COVID, but I know it's coronavirus disease and the 19 means something. But the year 2019, right? That's the only one I have a hope for. The rest of them, I'm like, you know what? I probably should know what LED stands for, but I don't. I certainly don't understand what all of these other things are. And what will happen inevitably, what's going to happen is that because you're using these terms frequently, especially is it's this, how do you say the top one? Lie heap. Y'all are going to get used to saying lie heap if you're not already. Are you already used to it? Yeah, some are saying, and I don't know, I'm looking at my screen maybe. But when you say lie heap over and over and over again, your clients are not going to know that. It's going to become habitual for you. and it's going to create a barrier. They're going to be, what is she talking about? And then what happens, and you know this, you've experienced when you've heard someone say a word that you don't know, it actually stops your ability to listen to them because you're like, what the heck did that mean? Right? What the heck did that mean? All right, who's willing to unmute their mic and tell me what LIHEAP stands for? Anybody? Anybody willing to unmute and tell me what LIHEAP stands for? Yes, they're asking me now, do you want me to chat it? They're like, how long will she stand there uncomfortably until... What does LIHEAP stand for?
Low Income Home Energy Assistance Program.
Yes, I don't know who that was, but thank you. Who was it? Abby, thank you. I want you to get in the habit of saying the entire series. We use acronyms to make our life easier when it's our job to make things easier to understand for the customer. So if you're going to say LIHEAP, follow it up with what it stands for. Make sure you say it slow. Make sure that they can understand you. I joke all the time because I work in corporate environments that the binders of acronyms and things that people use to try to make our communication more effectively really just crushes everyone else in the room. Because when I can't understand the words you say or the acronyms that you say, I'm in trouble. And I see it all the time. I will see a CEO at the head of one table and a newbie at the other end. And there will be some people in the middle and they will be spewing out acronyms. And then the next thing you know, the CEO and the new person are both in the bathroom trying to hit Google saying, what the heck are people talking about? So Eve, it just makes you feel stupid. Yes. Yes, and if you pair feeling stupid with I already can't pay my bills and I'm embarrassed, you're going to have an angry person in no time flat. Ah. Energy Assistance Program. And you call that the EAP? Do you say EAP?
No, we tell it.
Good. All right. Energy Assistance Program. So why is LIHEAP in your stuff? It's the federal. It's the new one. It's the new federal language. That's also something that I love very much is new federal language that makes it hard for all of us to understand. Y'all catch my drift on this acronym. Acronym, not acronym. Is that my typo?
Oh, yes.
Okay, put your address in the, yes. Yeah, private message it to Stacy, sorry. Y'all want a reward for that. I will give you a prize for that. Big words. Any other types of jargon and things that you use in your language that make it hard for people to understand? We tend to want to shy away from using simple language because we want for our folks to think that we know what we're talking about. But the more simple that you could use, the more simple of language that you can use, the better. Here's my general rule of thumb. Fewer words per sentence, fewer syllables per word. Go back to that word cantankerously. And more time in between the sentences, especially when you've got folks that are trying to process a lot of information quickly, that are under stress and duress, that may have never been through an experience like this before. Fewer words, fewer syllables, and more time in between. Does that all sit with you? Does that resonate with you guys? Do you recognize the acronym thing? I do this do this part a lot, and I do it a lot with technical people. So here's a fun little game. What does IT stand for? Do y'all know what IT stands for? Information technology, information technology. What else does it stand for? Industrial technology. What else does it stand for? I'm going to answer that question in just a minute. Will you hold that, Stacy? IT, in my world, was IT band, yes, like the band between your hip and your knee. Also, individual therapy. Also, if you look up the definitions of IT, there are 96 different definitions of IT in Acronym Finder. 96 definitions. So we can't assume that people know what we're talking about. The funny part about there being 96 definitions of IT is that if you segment them out, if you put them into categories like business or medical or IT has 36 different definitions, meanings for the acronym IT. Explain that one to me. Like, that's crazy, insane. So always make sure you're explaining. There was a question about if I slow down too much in between sentences, am I going to sound like I'm condescending? It depends on the tone you use. So it's not so much the space that you leave in between, it's the tone, the brightness of your tone. So let me give you an example. So if I said, Mr. Smith, there's a way that we can help you. And it looks like this. Sounds pretty bright, sounds pretty happy. If I said, Mr. Smith, there's a way we can help you. And it looks like this. Your tone and your intention matters. So be mindful when you're leaving space of what does the tone of my voice sound like. The space itself isn't going to be so much of an issue unless you're trying to really slow down your sentences, like Mr. Smith is slow. Can y'all hear that difference? I don't know what they said, anything they chimed in. Is that good? Yes. But if your tone is bright and you leave a little space, all is well. Same thing goes for repeating ourselves. We get worried sometimes about repeating ourselves as whether or not that's going to sound like we are talking down to someone. Repetition is very natural in our speech patterns and gives people an opportunity to hear something again, because most of us are only listening about 30% of the time. So repetition, also a good thing. So let me make sure I cover this. I'm going to say it one more time. And going, quickly, saying it in a bright, helpful, I'm here to be on your side tone. I saw a comment about smiling. Absolutely, smiling makes a difference. You guys, I know, have been through that. That even if you don't feel the smile, that the smile will physiologically change the tone of your voice and the delivery. So public speakers and folks like me use this all the time. Because even if I am not feeling it, if all of a sudden I'm like, my left toe really hurts, but I'm smiling and I'm going along just fine, my voice will carry that. It changes the structure and the way that I articulate my words and the resonance and the tone of it. Any other questions on that piece? Thoughts? Watching my time. All right, so I'm going to challenge you again to participate here. So I pulled this paragraph directly from some of the information that Stacy sent me. And I want you to read through it. And then I would love to have a volunteer who is willing to unmute themselves and explain this to me as Mrs. Smith. What does this mean? What does it really mean for me? Who is massively stressed out and massively worried about being able to pay my bills. I'm going to give you a second and then I'm going to wait for a volunteer. What'd you say? The member's not going to understand any of that. So how would you explain that to a member who doesn't understand any of that? Who's willing to chime in? Yep. Y'all know this is going to come. Oh, Henry County said they will. Yay, go Henry County! Oh. All right, Henry County, let's hear you. Unmute.
Can everyone hear me? I can hear myself reverberating.
I feel a little like we're in an alien movie.
Yeah, okay, it's better now. Is it better now for everyone?
We can hear you. Hi, Henry County. Thanks for playing.
All right. So the Low Income Home Energy Assistance Program is a program that's federally funded. It gives help to low income households. I'm sorry, this reverberation is really messing me up. Turn the volume.
Remember at the beginning when Stacy and I both told you that we were going to give Grace space for technology problems. Here we are.
That sounds better. Okay, maybe this is better. It helps give money to low-income households if they meet their requirements, and you can call them by calling the 1-800-872-0371, and they can give you help with resources.
Okay, I'm going to give you a clap and mute you.
I think this is what it is.
Well done. Oh, I'm going to wait 1 second while they mute. That's better. Is everybody better? Can I get a thumbs up? Everybody's better. All right, let's give Henry County a clap for trying. I don't know if can you hear? Like I have my small audience 4 over here. We're all cheering for you. So thank you for that. That was a much more simple explanation. Nice work. So simplifying the language, cutting out the acronyms, cutting out the mumbo jumbo. This is a program that helps families that need assistance. Here's how we're going to get you to that. Free, it's confidential. They're really easy to work with. What would anybody else add to make this less complex? How else would someone, you can write it or you can say it. But what else would you do to make this easier? Did I stump the panel? Sure. What else would you do to make this easier? We just direct our members to 211. Speak in your own words and in a language that first graders would understand. So I'm going to make a delineation because people say, you know, and it is true. Actually, there's research that supports that most of the American presidents tend to gear their speeches towards a 5th or 6th grade audience. And the reason for that, so again, the language is simple, but the tone shows respect. So it's an adult, so I'm not talking to you like you're a little 1st grader and welcome to the assistance program, like none of that, right? We're not doing that, but we're making the language easy to understand, simple. I don't know about any of you, but I need things to be as simple as possible. I'm a girl of three choices. I broke down when they came and showed me like 17 carpet samples. I was like, it's too much. And so your folks are looking for that too. What other comments did you get, Stacy? Anything?
The name and number for the local offices, that number,
Yeah.
numbers to the point.
Keep
I
it.
might leave off the low income portion.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Might leave off the low income portion because that might hit a button for folks. An energy assistance program that'll help you with the money. They'll give you the assistance. I love this, guys. So as you are thinking about prepping for these phone calls, what am I going to do? And what am I going to say to make the language really easy for people to understand? Because goodness knows, if we had to walk into someone else's job and understand what they were doing, we'd have a really hard time. Y'all are steeped in this, and the customer or the client is not. So make it easy for them, and that will help keep tension and frustration down. All right. I'm going to skip that and go on to this very last piece. So I told you we were going to talk about listening. I told you we were going to talk about being clear is kind. So when you are clear with your customers, that is the most kind thing that you can do for them, is make it easy and simple to understand you. And the last piece, which I think is so incredibly important, not just for this, but for life in general, for the times we're living in right now, which are fraught with all sorts of opportunities to make mistakes, to get it wrong, to mess up. If we're looking for perfect, if we're looking to never get it wrong, we're going to fail every time. But if we're willing to step forward and take on some things like, I'm sorry, I don't know, and I made a mistake, those three words are, or those three phrases are power phrases for you guys. Because all of this, what we know, at the end of the day, we can practice, we can rehearse, we can line everything up in the best possible way, and we're still going to have stuff go wonky. We're still going to have stuff go haywire. We're still going to have customers, clients, where we're going to miss the mark. And so I want to encourage you to get really comfortable with saying these three things, especially the I don't know piece, because sometimes we just don't know. And when we try to make up an answer, that gets really hard. All right. Last role play scenario. I would love to have two different people act this one out. And if I can't, well, I'm not going to say that yet. I'm going to wait just a second. Can I have two volunteers to act out this scenario, which basically looks like what happens when we get it wrong on our end? What are we going to do when we get it wrong with a client, a member on our end? Volunteers, please. All right, you're going to make me do it. Carmen, they're calling for you. Are you there, Carmen? Carmen from Northeastern. Carmen from Northeastern, I'm in love with your name. It's my daughter's name. Carmen, are you hiding under your desk? Everyone, I can see a few people not hiding under their desks, but they're like, we've already volunteered, so we feel safe. Deb Hunter, not quite safe, but. All right, I'm gonna have two of my lovely assistants here role play this scenario for you, okay? So come on up, ladies. Woo! All right, clap where you are for folks willing to, and I'm gonna have you come and stand. Right there in the camera. All right, so who would like to be the customer service representative? All right. So Belinda is going to be the customer service representative. Melissa is going to be Mr. Smith or Mrs. Smith in this case, as it were. All right. So here, what you're going to do, customer service rep, you're going to listen, but then get frustrated. All right. You're going to feel nice and defensive. All right. When Mr. Smith talks, and you're going to like interrupt and talk over him until he hangs up on you. She's like, I am way too nice to do this. Like, channel your inner fierceness. Channel it. All right, Mr. Smith, Mrs. Smith, create as much drama as you can. Pretend again that you have been on hold, or you like, I don't know what has happened, but you're like, today is not your day, Belinda. Today is not your day. All right. Throw in a few good insults. All right, I'm gonna let you go. I'm gonna have you go for a full minute. Are you ready? On your mark, get set, go.
Yes, this is Mrs. Smith, and I am not happy.
Sorry, Mrs. Smith, how can I help you?
I received a letter in the mail saying that you're going to disconnect my power on the 8th. I want to know why you're going to disconnect it so soon, and I don't have the money to pay it. So what can you do about it?
Well, if you got a letter for disconnect, it's probably because you're past due.
But you don't understand. All of this has been going on, and I lost my job, and I didn't qualify for unemployment, and there's just so much going on. There's no way I can pay this $1,500 bill.
I understand that, but it's just like gas in a car. You've already paid for your gas. These are electric services, and now you owe the money for your bill.
Well, I'm sorry, but it just doesn't work that way. There's no way I can possibly pay this.
Start talking over her.
Oh.
Yep. Like interrupt Mrs. Smith.
There's no way I can pay this, so you have to come up with some kind of plan.
You just have to pay that way.
No,
It's due.
you don't understand. I don't have the money.
Then we're gonna have to charge the power.
No, there's no money with that. And I can't go without power. I have a husband on oxygen.
That's a dead ringer.
I'm sorry.
And then, yep, Mrs. Smith hangs up.
I want to go. Hold on there.
Okay.
That was funny.
Now, yeah, right. And we laugh. But after 7 hours of taking difficult calls, right? After 7 hours of difficult calls, after a really bad day on your own, like on your own end, when or maybe you're the person that like got rear-ended and your kid's got a stubbed toe and you're exhausted because you were up till 4 because the dog vomited, and right? Like, name all the things that you've got going on. This scenario could very easily happen, and it might very easily happen. So how do we fix it? How do we repair it? How do we go back and say we messed up, right? So now, Belinda and Melissa are going to show us how this gets fixed. Are you ready? Okay. Lead on, ladies.
Thanks for calling Titmont REMC. This is Belinda. How may I help you?
This is Mrs. Smith again, and are you the lady I spoke to a while ago?
Yes, you are, and I apologize. I feel like we both got really frustrated. How may I help you?
Yes, I agree. I'm sorry. There's a lot going on in my life because of all of this and not having a job, and I just apologize for the way that I treated you and hung up on you a while ago.
That's okay. I hear you're frustrated. Why don't you talk to me a little bit about what's currently going on in your situation?
Sure. So I've lost my job. My husband is ill, and there's no money for us to be able to pay this large bill. So I need to figure out a plan that can work for both of us so that I can keep my service disconnected.
I'd be more than happy to help you with that. So I heard what you said about your husband, and also let's talk about that first. Are there any medical necessities that currently exist in the home that we need to be aware of here for disconnects? Oxygen. Okay. So the first thing I'd like you to do is for you to get a letter from your doctor. Send that to us via mail. You can come to the office, or you can send it to me via email. They can fax it over as well, and we'll get a note on that account to make sure you don't disconnect power to avoid any disruption in this oxygen service.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Keep going.
That's enough. Well then, hey, can I get some cheers and claps for these guys? Woo! Nicely done. Thank you very much. All right, audience, my virtual audience. And let me ask these ladies first. Well, what was challenging? What was challenging about that for you?
I think for me, the role play of talking over someone, I don't like that.
Oh.
It feels really
So Belinda said that for her, it's difficult. The role play itself was difficult because she's not one to talk over someone in general. What about for you, Melissa? She said she doesn't yell at people that often. We'd have to ask her husband to confirm. No, I'm just kidding. I mean, maybe. Right? Y'all, for audience, did you see anything that you would have done differently in this scenario? You can feel free to type or chime in, unmute yourself, challenge yourself to unmute. Was there anything you would do differently? Did that go perfectly? Belinda says no. What would you do differently, Belinda?
On the initial call, like, I think as the starts to escalate, sometimes I've said, let's just because when a member's attend, I'm unwinding, it's like we're not for one another. Sometimes I just say, let's take this is what I've heard. And it kind of takes it from a 10 to like,
Yes.
smiles it back.
Let me repeat back what Belinda said because I realize that may not be easy for y'all to hear, but what she said is that in the middle of that call, when she felt tension start to escalate, she would have said, wait a second, let's take a step back. Let's slow this conversation down. So instead of being at a 10, that we get ourselves down to a 2 and we can have this conversation, and that she would start to repeat back some of the things that she had heard. Great comment. What else? Yes, accepting ownership of your mistakes is hard, and apologizing is not easy. So back to that perfection breaks connection. We're going to stumble through that. It's going to feel weird. It's going to sound awkward. It's going to take practice. And when you do it, it gets a little bit easier. When you're able to get some space, where you're able to put calm things down and recognize that we are working toward a common goal, which is to help the member out, then we can wrap our minds around that. But you are right, it is not easy. It takes strong people. It takes strong people to do what you're doing. Very strong people. What else? What did you learn or relearn by watching this scenario? Things can escalate quickly. Why is it that we always forget that? Like you walk into, right? Lena's like nodding her head because you walk into the day and you're like, this is a great day. And then it's like, oh, I got emotionally hijacked. When did that happen? So remembering that things can escalate so quickly, but that you are in control and able to, all right, how do I back this up, slow it down, create some space? I had the opportunity to interview Gary Nessner. Is there anyone on here who is an FBI junkie or Waco fan? Did y'all watch the Netflix series Waco? Anybody? All right, so Gary Nessner is the FBI agent that is based off of that show. I interviewed him. And he wrote a book called Stalling for Time. And he said, yes, it's so good. And Gary's so good. And he's on my podcast. He's my very first guest, that poor man. But he's so phenomenal because he talks about this whole effect of stalling for time. So what are the things that you can do to create some space? So I love that. I love that. I love that. Anything else? Yes. Remembering that everything that has been brought to them in many instances, that everything that COVID has brought is out of the members' hands, it's out of our hands, and just keeping that perspective. Ooh, good stuff. Anything else? Erase all assumptions. That's a good one. I heard a phrase that I think I love that I'm globbing onto is don't wear assumptions as earplugs. Don't wear assumptions as earplugs. Also that we are, to tie this back to our listening, we're born with eyelids that close our eyes so we can shut that sense off. It should tell us something that we weren't born with something to cover our ears. That's how important our ability to listen is. Ooh, this is good stuff, guys. We are in the home stretch. 6 minutes. 6 minutes. You guys are troopers. This is amazing. I want to remind you again, whatever you're about to face with these members, it's not about you. You are here doing your job, being the front line, which is a place of, in my mind, respect and honor and hard work. And it takes a really special person to be able to do it. So whatever is coming at you is not about you. It's about the state of the world and stuff that none of us could have ever anticipated. So cling to this when time gets tough, when it gets hard and it gets weird and it gets wonky, because it will. But I have such faith in your ability to handle this, to get through this, to move past it. I cannot wait to hear how and see how you guys do this, because you can do so much good. Before I wrap up, this is who I am. So I am Alex Perry. I'm a speaker. I'm a trainer. I coach on all things communication and public speaking, and my specialty is to demystify and simplify it for folks. You can find me on all of the social media outlets except for Twitter, because Twitter is scary. So you can find me there. I'm also the author of a really fun book called Minivan Mogul. So and it's a crash course in confidence for women. So if you're looking for something fun and motivating and inspiring to read, I do drive a minivan and I'm darn proud of it. And you can hear my road rules for confidence in there. It's been really awesome to be with you guys today, to talk about this today. I get fired up when it comes to helping people be confident when they communicate, because again, you've been doing this your whole life. You're already exceptional at it. Embrace that. We covered listening first. We talked about how being clear is kind. And we talked about how perfection breaks connection. I want to know, what was your biggest takeaway from today before we go get to eat lunch? What did you take away from today? Please feel free to pop on. I swear I will jump up and down. I might even do a cartwheel if somebody pops on and says something. But drop it in the comments. What was your biggest takeaway from today? Give grace and space. Thanks, Marcy.
Can you hear me?
I hear Jamie. Hi, Jamie.
Hello.
Woo! I might do a cartwheel, except I'm not going to, because I've got like chunky heels on and that would be bad. Nobody needs to see that.
So I think the biggest takeaway for me is we've been looking at it so much from the business perspective. You know, how do the numbers look? Where are we sitting for debt? You know, how can we come out of this and make sure that we're protecting the membership as a whole and the company? And it kind of takes that emotion out of it. You stop thinking about those individuals that are really dealing with something they've never had to think about before. And so you stop thinking of it such as a business transaction and more as a human connection.
Yes, yes. Of course, the business has to keep running, but at the end of the day, the business doesn't exist without the humans that make it up, right?
Exactly.
Oh, so good, Jamie. Thank you for sharing. Thanks for coming on camera, and look how cute you look. Your yellow on. She looks good. She looks good. We're here to help, not to hurt, for sure. Show you care about people.
I got one.
Oh, who's this?
It's Abby.
Hi, Abby.
Hey. So I think my biggest takeaway was the whole assistance numbers. That's kind of like my first go-to is I get them numbers for help and I don't think like, you know, how proud they are and, you know, they've never had that before. That's not what they want to hear. So I'm definitely going to be like asking before I just jump right into it.
Oh, that's so good. It's so good to ask, So the very quick, again, we want to fix, and what your member needs is somebody to listen. All about the people, to hear their stories, to listen to what they, yes, to listen to what they want to say before you go fixing their problems. That's awesome, guys. Anything else? Thank you. Thank you so much for being willing to jump in, to do this in a way that has stretched us all outside of our comfort zones. I have enjoyed interacting with you as the circle eye on the wall in front of me and hearing your voices and seeing your chats. So thank you. By all means, if you have questions or if there's anything that I can do for you after this, please feel free to contact me. And I am just grateful to have spent the morning with all of you. Thank you.
We are so thankful that you joined us today, and I'm sure each person who's attended from what you talked to us about. So again, thank you so much for joining us. We have appreciated that. We're going to go ahead and move into lunch, take a break. We will begin back at 12:30 on the dot. So that will start our leadership panel at that point. So we're going to mute everything, but leave everything up so that you guys can still see the room, see what's going on here. But enjoy your lunch, and we'll be back at 12:30. Thank you. Welcome back, everyone. We're going to go ahead and get started with our leadership panel. I'm going to pass the mic over to our CSR section secretary, Nicole, and she will be moderating our panel today. Nicole, you're up.
Thanks, Melissa. I miss seeing all of you in person, so it's been so fun seeing everyone on the camera this morning. I'm super excited to welcome our 4 panelists today. We have Kurt Carver, President and CEO of My Home Co-op, Kosciuszko REMC. We have Belinda Huseman, Member Service Manager at Tittman REMC. Hi, Belinda. We have Melissa True, our CSR Section President and Manager of Customer Service and Billing at Henry County REMC. And last, but definitely not least, Jamie Walker, Vice President and Member Service of Northeastern REMC. Hi, guys.
Hello.
Welcome. We can't wait to hear how each of you are dealing with the COVID-19 pandemic at your co-ops. Hi, Jamie. Please don't hesitate to share any ideas or strategy you have, no matter how out of the box it seems. Just a quick reminder, make sure to unmute yourself when we call on you so that we can all hear you. So let's go ahead and get started. Our first question is, what is your plan and timeline for reopening? This includes your drive-through, lobby, return of employees, and overall feel for how things are doing in your community. We'll give everyone a chance to answer. Let's start with Kurt.
Okay, well, we're just a little bit ahead of the game probably because we opened our office back up June 1st. Let me back up a little bit. Our drive-through was opened up May 18th. Like I said, our lobby was open June 1st. We did put things in place, germ guards or shields on the panels, and we put signs on our doors asking our members we'd appreciate if they wear a mask, but we didn't mandate it. So all the employees were also back in the office June 1st. So everybody was back in. So we had most of the staff, office staff, working from home. So, and we restructured some of our equipment. He did a great job. I think we purchased seven laptops, and so. And I know part of the question on down is, are you ready for a recap? And with all the equipment we have in place now, yes, we feel like we're ready to move back into that if we have to.
Belinda, how about you? What's the plan over at Tittmont?
We still currently have everything closed. Tittmont does not even have a drive-through. So we're slated to reopen on July 5th. We've got plexiglass in place, like you stated, in the front for the end of the lobby. So we've got barriers for the girls in place. We also have masks for all the girls, and we installed sanitation stations where they can get sanitizer at the drop of the hat. And we're also putting down floor markings for 6 feet so that members can come in. One of the requests I put in, we're still working on, is to please get security at the door so that I can buzz members in, so that we can manage the amount that come in at a single time to the lobby. So in Employees, my team, the MSR staff was deemed essential. We've been there the whole time. Nobody's worked from home this entire time with COVID. We've been probably a team of 6, and at most there's been 8 or 9 in the building. So we don't really have acclimation back. However, our staff at the facility, they've been working remote, IT, different stations and areas. They're just now starting to come back in the office 2 or 3 days a week. So they're now just starting to kind of get acclimated back, where we're kind of more business as usual mindset because my team's been there the whole time.
Thank you, Melissa. Are you doing things a bit differently out at Henry?
Yeah, so our office totally closed down on March the 13th, and we had our IT department working frantically to get us all set up. Our phones were ringing into our homes through our computers, and the gals have been answering those phones every day since. And we still are not back to full staff in our office. Lobby is still closed. We don't have a date for that to open at this point. Drive-through opened 2 weeks ago for just 4 hours a day. As of this last Monday, the drive-through opened all day, every day, and somebody from each department is required to be in the building for the entire normal business hours. All staff will be expected to return back to normal hours on the 6th of July, but the lobby will still not open at that point. We don't have a date yet. We've also installed the guards on the stations and things like that to make it safe for the gals, and everybody just having to wear a mask if they're outside their normal office space.
Finally, Jamie, what's going on at Northeastern?
So we have been all working from home. The entire building was working remotely as of mid to end of March. We recently moved into our what we call phase 2 of our plan, where we have 2 of our member services staff here on a regular basis, and then they rotate out, and then so they're in the office for a week, and then they go back home, and we have 2 other MSRs come in the next week and work the office. During which time we actually open the drive-through again. We are not taking cash payments, however. They are asked to leave the cash payments in the night drop so that they can process the cash once per day. They're not handling cash multiple times, you know, and all the germs that we know that comes with touching money that people pull out of their bras.
Totally true, though. Totally true.
I mean, just if we're guessing, you know, where it comes from, I'm guessing that's where it is. So we are looking to move to phase 3 here, hopefully at the beginning of July, where we will open our lobby again. Our lobby was actually already paneled off. They have glass in front of all of our staff. So that's beneficial to us in this circumstance, obviously. And we will have, you know, social distancing guidelines for anyone that does come into the office. But we are limiting the number of employees as well as the number of visitors that can come in the building. They have to be approved and on schedule and things like that.
Thank you. What is your strategy to help your membership when the disconnect moratorium is listed? Like, what options are you offering other than prepay? Where are you standing debt-wise, if you're comfortable sharing? And how many members are up for a disconnect? If you would like to go ahead, Kurt.
Sure. Basically, we're trying to reach every member in person prior to disconnect. I think that date is July 6th for us, is our first disconnect period. We're reaching out to the members that have never been late on their bills, and this has affected them. So we can push their payments out to spread it over 12 months. Obviously, we all have those members, unfortunately, that are repetitively up for disconnect every month. So, we're probably not going to be quite as lenient with that group if we can get that separation. But we're definitely not going to disconnect anybody unless we can reach them in person and try to reason with them and give them all means of resources where they can get their bill paid. Approximately, we're down about $60,000 disconnects, 290 accounts. It's up just under 1% with this COVID versus last year at this time. And we have 159 regular billed and 131 prepaid. So kind of where we're at.
Belinda, how is Tipmont?
So we're off
offering kind of a few different options. One of the things that we've been working with is how can we approach this humanely and compassionately with our members who have really felt a hard time. And so I know the governor's pushed back the moratorium deadline to be lifted a couple times. So Titmont took the stance that this one stays for July. We're not going to start our first disconnects until August with our first bill cycle. So we're actually going to give members 30 days. We're going to hit a hard mailing. We're going to hit hard email. And then we're also going to be calling all members preemptively to try and get everybody on a payment arrangement plan. We've also kind of met with the board and broke them into, I guess, if you will, buckets. So anybody with a $1,500 plus past due amount, we've got a payment plan set up for those that the girls have strategies to kind of follow. Obviously, they're going to be reviewed on a case-by-case basis in the event we have a member that's got a really difficult situation. And those are to be reviewed, obviously, by the team, and then they're going to come to me for approval. So that's where we're looking at right now. And then if we set them up on a 9 to 12-month payment arrangement plan, assuming we're going to try and get everything back within 12 months, one of the things we've been discussing is if they miss a payment arrangement and they're up for disconnect, are we going to do a one-time waive fee courtesy? Because you know those deposits are going to climb, right? The longer their balance is increasing, the deposit will be maybe what 200, now it's 600. So one of the things we're talking about is maybe we waive the deposit, collect the past due, and try to work with the member on that mindset. In terms of where we're standing debt-wise, Titmont is a little bit bigger, so we're standing at about $363,000 in our debt, which is about 3%. And we've got approximately, as of yesterday, 683 members up for disconnect at this time.
Oh my gosh. Oh, thank you so much.
Yeah.
Belinda.
Can you guys hear me?
Yes. But when you turn a little bit, then we lose your microphone a little bit.
Okay.
So if you're more facing towards Melissa, it's a little bit better.
Let's
there
try
you
that.
go.
Is that better?
Melissa, let's hear how you're handling things.
So we also have a plan in place. We looked at originally doing July 8th as our first disconnect day. And because of the governor's situation and not knowing what he's going to do, we decided we might push that back to the end of July and actually focus at the end of July for those people who have the 60, 90-day balances and work with them first, and then move into August to kind of catch all of the others in that disconnect category. We have budget billing that we thought about trying to work with people. Normally we ask people that when they go on budget that they have a zero balance to start budget, but we're looking at maybe dividing that balance they have into the 12 months, add it to their average, and try to spread that out and us collect it over a 12-month period. Of course, that's going to be a little longer for the co-op to recoup those dollars, but it's going to make it a little easier for those members and not put quite the hardship on them. We also talked about maybe if they were at that point of possibly starting to get their deposit back before all of this happened, and they really hadn't been late prior to that, going ahead and refunding their deposits if they had been good payers prior to this to help reduce that balance. And then we've had in the past a 3-month agreement, but we're looking at maybe 4, 5, 6-month agreements, dividing those balances by 6 months, and then them paying their normal bill at the same time. Our arrears total, when I ran our report just yesterday, we were at about $280,000 in total arrears, with about 170 accounts up for disconnect. We have been doing calls, automated calls to our members about every 2 weeks, and sending emails to them, asking them just to call and talk to us about where they are. They seem to appreciate that. And some of them we already have on payment plans that they will be getting a letter in the mail if they have a past due balance, and asking them to call and give us some time to work with them on their balances.
Okay, thank you so much. Jamie, you want to chime in on this?
Sure thing. So we are actually sitting pretty good as far as our debt levels. I just compared our 30, 60, 90 to where we were last year and the year before, and we're actually pretty in line with where we stood in the past 2 years. We've got less than 400 accounts in arrears right now, and about 150,000. And every day we're getting more and more people paying. So I'm happy to say that they've been, a lot of them have been keeping up on things. We have not formalized our plan yet. What we know is that we will not even look at disconnecting anyone prior to August 1st. That will be, the first time that we would consider it. We are talking about, offering multiple options, obviously the prepay, extended payment arrangements, they can always pay in full, which would be ideal.
Optimal.
Yeah, exactly. But my team has been fantastic about reaching out to them. Anyone who is on the delinquent list each week, they've made a personal phone call, either talked to the member or left a message and put notes on their account about kind of what's going on with them. So we have, you know, like I said, we've been making those calls every week. We will also be sending out, we use Messenger through NISC. We'll be using that to communicate our options. And then when we do send our bill available notices, we also give them the help options. So if they need any assistance, they can find that on there as well.
Okay.
Placing the actual numbers on the bills for assistance.
No, we have a link to our website that has 6 or 7 different options listed on it.
Okay, thank you. My next question is, how are you handling scenarios and options for members differently for those who came directly out of the winter moratorium with a balance? Do you want to go ahead and answer that, Jamie, since you're there?
Sure. As of right now, I believe, I'm not 100% sure, but I'm pretty sure that we don't have anyone with a balance currently from the winter moratorium. We had talked about trying to separate that debt in different buckets, which is not possible through our billing system, but I don't think it's really going to be a problem for us, to be honest.
Okay, thank you. Kurt, do you want to chime in on that?
Sure, and likewise, we have very few coming out of that. So, and likewise, I think it would be really tough to separate those out. So we're going to treat those basically the same as the rest of the members up for disconnect. We'll communicate in every avenue we possibly can, and basically go down the same route with them.
Thank you, Kurt. Melissa, do you want to give us a little tidbit on what you guys are doing?
Sure. We have about 10 members at this point that did not pay prior to all of this. And some of their balances now are quite large, as you can imagine. So my goal is to try to get them to at least pay what they would have owed at the time of moratorium, and then work with them on the balances they've accumulated since that point. So if we can get that, you know, and some of them have paid a little bit maybe, but not all of it. I do have one gal that is probably over $1,500 at moratorium time, and now close to $3,000 total that is owed. So it's going to be a challenge, but we'll figure out some kind of plan. But we do have some that's going to be a difficult one.
You want to go ahead, Belinda?
Sure. We're following kind of the same plan as your team there. We're actually not treating them any differently. I think one of the things I think about is, you know, if this was a scenario where maybe they were getting through moratorium ready to pay, and then they just turned around and lost their job, I don't want to discriminate against them because I don't know their story. So I think for us, we're treating every single member that's behind the same way. We're going to work with them the best we can on setting up payment arrangement, trying to get them caught up and kind of listening to their story.
Okay, thank you, guys. Is your cooperatives providing any extra training for your CSRs to deal with unhappy members or these new scenarios that are being out there? You want to go ahead, Belinda?
Sure. So we already started working on this about 6 weeks ago, maybe a little bit longer. I know we had a 2-hour meeting last Wednesday as a team. We stayed after work and met for a couple hours. We really heavily focused on kind of our DISC profiles, what everybody's needs were, what to do when communicating, those types of things. We really touched on those heavy last week. And then me as a manager, I'm trying very hard to make sure that I've got things in place for that team to kind of help manage stress levels at the time when it's going to be peak. And also just making sure we kind of have a plan of action. So I don't want to, you know, come out saying, oh, this is going to be crazy, guys, brace yourselves, it's going to hit the fan. You know, if I'm staying in control, I've got a plan of action, I'm on the level, then I can be a good sounding board. I'm there for my girls when they need to come in and vent or field questions or bounce ideas. Hey, this guy's at 1,500. He says he can only do 70 a month. How am I going to handle this? And then we can calmly talk about it. So I think for me, the main thing is, you know, if I manage my stress and the team stress, that's my goal, is to just trying to keep everybody on the level. I know there's going to be times where it's going to be really stressful, but as we maintain control of ourselves and don't spiral, I think that's the key to really help everybody stay on the level and offer as much as I can at the time of need, really.
Melissa, you want to go ahead?
To this point, because we all haven't been back in the office as a team at this point. So as we all start to get back in the office, I'm sure we're going to be having more conversations about what this is going to look like and how it's going to take place. I have shared with our team everything that's been shared with the board, everything that's been shared with the staff, the management staff, about where we stand so that they understand where we are. They know what options we have. We've talked about, do these options work or don't work? You know, we all know what we need to offer. It's just we have to make sure that we're staying calm and provide a lot more grace and empathy and sympathy than what we normally do after moratorium or whatever the situation is. We know that it's going to be a bigger challenge.
Okay, thank you. Jamie?
Yeah, so my team, we have a group chat that we all utilize every day, and that's been helpful since we're all out of the office as well, like Melissa's team. So, you know, it's keeping us in communication with each other, trying to keep us all level-headed and things like that. But they have also participated in the NRECA Customer Excellence Service Seminar. It was a 3-week series that NRECA just put on, just, you know, some reminders about listening, kind of like we talked about earlier this morning, and, you know, things that are important that, you know, you take for granted after a while and you start to forget as you get more and more, what's the word I'm looking for, when you're calloused to something, you know, you're hearing the same thing over and over again. And so it's easy to kind of get in that mindset. And then I also have them all participating in the IEC CSR Symposium. So hopefully they'll learn something from that.
Kurt, you want to go ahead?
Sure. I thought the morning session was very informational. I got a little more involved than what I thought I was going to be. But, I'm sure there's some chuckles out there. But anyway, yeah, I got some good information out of that. I think our MSR group does a great job. I've been behind them in different scenarios where they've dealt with some irate members and listened to how they calm our members down and passionate and that whole role. So I think they're very well prepared. We really haven't went out of our way for retraining. And I think, well, I feel real confident that they'll do a good job on dealing with any problems. I know we got to be a little more sympathetic. Each individual that calls in is going to be a little different situation. So they're going to be tested, but I'm confident they'll do a great job on that.
Thank you, Kurt.
Good answer, Kurt.
He knows he's sitting beside me. No, I'm just kidding. Are there assistance programs in your guys' areas that you're working with or recommending members to? Do you want to go ahead, Melissa?
Sure. We, of course, you know, the standard ICAP 211, those are always options. But our Operation Roundup team at our office made the decision that they wanted to try to help some of our own members. But of course, in our bylaws, it says that they can't apply dollars directly to the member's account or to a specific member. So what we decided, the CEO called me one day and said, what do you think about this if we reach out to township trustees? And I said, I find it more difficult to deal with the township trustees. I don't know how you guys feel, but sometimes they're a little more difficult than the ICAP office. So we chose that our Operation Roundup group made a donation out of those dollars to the ICAP office. And if the member can put $100 to their own account, $100 from the Operation Roundup dollars will be donated to their account as well. So we are working directly with ICAP. They're sending us information asking us if people have made that $100 payment, and then they are making the $100 pledge out of those dollars we have given. So that is something a little different that some have not done. And then we have a housing group that has reached out to me wanting us to pledge $50 to every apartment in their facility, which there's 90 apartments. And I told her that there's just no way we could do that because of giving directly to just those members. But we are going to work with them on a program. Are going to donate dollars to the account, and we're going to donate some energy efficiency items. It is a low income housing unit, and we're going to donate some energy efficiency kits and some other things to that group to help with some promotion items for that. So a couple different programs we're doing.
You want to go ahead, Jamie?
Sure. So we offer Brightpoint to all of our members. Brightpoint has actually gotten a lot more federal funding here lately. So that's the big community organization that they can go to get funding. standard options, you know, for the township trustees and things like that, like most people have. But the big one that I wanted to point out that we actually did was, it was called Northeastern Neighbor Aid. And it's where the members themselves could donate funds to help other members. So really the co-op was just the facilitator in this. It wasn't coming out of our funding at all. But we had almost $10,000 in donations from other members that wanted to help those that were in trouble. One member himself actually donated 2,000 of that. So that was pretty incredible. Our board all contributed hefty sums. You know, a lot of people called and donated their capital credits and said, just go ahead and turn around and give it back to the other members that need it. So that was a really good program. We were able to help, gosh, I don't know the number off the top of my head. I want to say at least 400 members that all got pledges from that. So
that's awesome. You want to go ahead, Belinda?
Sure. We're also using the standards. We've got CAB, EAP. We also use Lafayette Urban Ministry and the Salvation Army. We've had a lot of pledges come through for those in the last year for people who are in crisis. And then we also, of course, use our local churches and then our township trustees as well. We have programs that are different for this time period at all. We haven't looked into any of the donations or the things you guys have discussed. We haven't looked into that yet. I'll have to bring that up to the CEO. I kind of like some of those ideas. They're great.
All right, Kurt.
Yeah, likewise, we're reaching out in a lot of the same ways with CARES, IPAC, and I was recently sat in a meeting or conference call with Stephanie on Operation Roundup, and there was some monies that were not allocated yet, so we can reach out to them and see if we can direct those to help some of our members. I do like the idea that member donations. I think that's a very good idea. I've not heard that one yet. So.
Thank you.
Can I address something real quick?
Yes, go ahead.
Someone asked how we decided who got the money applied to their accounts. So that was the hardest part, honestly. We went through weeks of discussions. You know, we're going, well, this person's a frequent flyer. Should they really get it? Or what if they came out of moratorium, they didn't have it? But kind of like Belinda mentioned early on, we have no idea what their story is. You know, we don't know, this person could be a frequent flyer that's on the disconnect list every month and is rude to our MSRs and things like that. But maybe they also lost their job and maybe they're trying to care for 3 kids and things like that. So we basically just decided anyone who was on the delinquent list, who if we would be doing disconnects, that they would have gotten disconnected that day, would receive the funding.
I definitely like hearing that. Thank you. So my last question for you 4 is, does your cooperative currently have plans in place if the pandemic has a second wave later this year? Jamie?
Yeah, so we would go back to our phase 1 of our current work plan, which is basically everyone works remotely. All of our MSRs are set up from home. The only problem was the credit card payments. Obviously, you know, red flag rules, you can't really take credit card payments from home. So we did have one person in the office at all times handling things like the mail, the remittance that came in through the office. But for the most part, everyone would go back to working remotely.
Okay, Kurt?
Yeah, same here. We don't have anything written, but you know, we got through this first round relatively smooth. Everybody pitched in. We made it work. We did remote access at home. We had to put hotspots in. So we would just reverse actions and send everybody remotely that we possibly could and stagger the operation crews again like we did. So and we just reversed things.
Melissa, you want to chime in on this?
Yeah, I feel like our team did an excellent job, and our CEO has been great about telling everybody that he felt like we all got more work done than what he ever anticipated us to be able to get done by the technology that we have in place. So we would go back to doing exactly, I think, what we've been doing the last several weeks, and the phones would be transferred back to our homes through our computers and close the lobby and the drive-through, and somebody would just be coming in to process mail and such, just as we've been handling things the last several months.
Belinda?
Sure. My team, like I said, was essential, so they haven't ever worked from home. So I think that's something that we've been discussing with our IT, kind of what that looks like for our team. If we have another outbreak and we do have to go back to working from home, how are we going to set them up? What equipment do we need to get ordered? And unfortunately, some of my team, they live in rural areas and don't even have internet service to sustain them to be able to work from home. which is a huge problem for us. And so obviously
You should get broadband.
yeah, we're rolling it, baby. Just don't have it there yet. We get there as fast as we can. Yeah. Yep.
Kurt, Belinda, Melissa, and Jamie, I'm just going to actually open this up to our audience for any questions that they might have. So if you guys want to go ahead and put in the chat box, or if you feel confident in unmuting yourself to ask a question, feel free.
How is culture? I guess I have a question for everybody. How is like internal culture going amidst the COVID? And you've got your people who have been in the building and yours who are acclimating back. I guess I'm kind of curious how culture is going at the actual co-ops and how everybody's dealing with returning to work and those who have been there and that kind of thing.
You want to go ahead, somebody? Anybody?
I can be the somebody. Well, I never did work from home. I felt like I wanted to be here. I needed to be here. I know I had a lot of feedback from the group that stayed home. Now, if they had kids at home, they were ready to come back to work. So it was kind of a mix. It was kind of a mixture. I did feel like we did get a lot of work done from home, and that was a surprising amount. So it all worked very well. And like I said, I got some positives and some negatives from employees wanting to work from home. I think more wanted to work from home than wanted to come to the office.
Yeah, same here. I think we have a lot of employees who have been surprisingly productive. I don't say surprisingly as I didn't think they would be productive. I mean, you don't realize how much you can get done with all the distractions that you don't realize are around you each day. So a lot of them have really enjoyed that aspect of it. For someone like me who thrives off being around people, it's been really hard. I know a lot of our other coworkers that I've talked to are really struggling with that, not being able to just bounce ideas off each other and things like that. It's been very hard not realizing what other people are working on, how much you're interrupting them when you call or chat or text or something during the day, because you don't know what else is going on in their situation, not being close to them. So I think that's taken its toll. But we've really tried to focus on getting better at communication. And, we're learning a lot. Even if we've failed on some things, we've made a lot of progress in figuring out how we can do better. So I think there are some of us who are ready to get back to the office and, the normal, but we're making do.
I would agree with that. I think as far as my team, I think most of them are probably also somewhat ready to get back to the office, although we still have concerns about what this is going to look like. During the whole situation, it was a blessing for our department or our office because we had 2 on maternity leave. Out of our team of 5, two were on maternity leave, and they were very grateful to be able to be at home working and not be exposed to people or the virus, obviously. So I think that was a blessing. And I think that they are, like I said, somewhat ready to come back, but we've all been rotated in and out of the office regularly. So I have seen all of them. Today is their first day seeing each other in person all together because they're in the office today in the boardroom. So this is their first day to actually see each other since March 13th as a group. So it'll be interesting to see what their thoughts are on that today.
Anybody else?
We had another question come in, and the question was, any thoughts on offering remote working opportunities moving forward outside of a COVID type situation?
For us, for our cooperative, I know Titmont, like I stated, we're working on getting the devices and pieces in place for them to be able to do that. My main concern is I'm always looking out for my team as well. I know we don't have the ability to do that at this time. Calls can't be recorded. And so then I worry about my girls' protection if I have to pull a call because there's a discrepancy, what that looks like. So that's something our IT department's kind of been tasked with to see how they can come up with a solution for that.
We have not discussed outside of this situation what that could look like, although I think a lot of us, especially on the management team, have the ability because we all have our laptops and things that we're required to keep and work whenever we need to. So as far as the management team, that's obviously an option probably if we wanted to, but I don't know what that would look like for everybody else at this point. It hasn't really been discussed.
Okay. On my perspective, I'm trying to keep an open mind on working from home. Obviously did a great job, but you also gotta watch how much you allow there and why you allow it. I'm thinking outside the box. We haven't had much snow days lately, but if we have an inclement weather and you're trapped at home for 2 or 3 days and you have your laptops, to me, you could work from home. That's just, I'm thinking out and beyond.
Are any of the MSR teams union?
Yes.
Excuse me?
I said, are there any MSR teams that fall under the union?
Henry.
We're a bargaining unit.
Melissa, that's you, right?
Yes, we are.
That's one thing we have to be very careful of as well. Contract. They're not to be working from home, so we have to negotiate everything through the union if there's changes to that contract. So that creates a whole different layer to the onion when we're talking about getting them home and the ability to kind of have that scenario work.
Yeah, we haven't had any issues brought up with union with all of our team working from home. My part-time person is not union, but the other 3 gals are union. And we have 2 gals in the back through operations that are union, and they even had radios and computers and things, and they were doing dispatching and things from home, and we haven't had any issues at this point.
Yeah, has any co-ops had any exposure that we know of, and then how did they respond if they do want to share that?
Thank goodness mine no.
We have not, as far as I know.
So with myself, my mother-in-law came in contact with her best friend who had surgery. She had taken her food after her surgery and then found out the very next day that she had the virus and had been admitted to the hospital in Indianapolis. And so my mother-in-law called and said, hey, you've been at my house. I just want you to know that I've been exposed. I don't know what the chances are here. So I immediately called our CEO, and I was quarantined from the office for 14 days just to make sure that there was nothing. I obviously did not get ill from that. Unfortunately, the lady who was a friend of the family did pass away from the virus, had other health issues as well, but did pass away from the virus. And so that was a concern, that I had been in the office. We had to obviously take some precautions, and especially with those that were expecting at our office, to make sure that it was cleaned and prepared for them to be able to come back in and do what they needed to do the days they needed to work.
I'm sorry to hear that, Melissa.
Thank you.
Gosh, that's hard.
Come up.
A question that I have, just from the perspective of you being in a leadership position, if you had your team in front of you right now, what would you tell them? What do you want them to know about the challenges that are coming up? What are the top 3 things you want them to remember as they're dealing with this? Your tips.
I think that my team probably already knows those 3. I think that the number one thing that we have conversation about with my group is you got to be able to walk in their shoes. You don't know their story, you need to stop, you need to listen to their story, because everybody's story is different. And then don't judge them. I think that's a big one for me. Don't judge the people. I mean, I know you can relate, you can have empathy and compassion, but if you haven't walked in their shoes, you just simply don't understand their story. And then secondly, I want my girls to know that I trust them to make decisions on the spot. That's a conversation we had with our CEO this week, and we also had 2 weeks ago. I have a stellar team of girls right now. They're strong women. They're smart women. They're able to make those decisions as needed. And I tell them, if I'm not available, you need to make the decision. Come to me afterwards, give me your justification, and we'll talk about it. I want them to know that they have the freedom and flexibility to make those decisions. We've got so many things at our disposal in the system for us to look at credit history to understand and get a clear picture. So we kind of make those judgments on the fly, and I want them to know they're able to do that. And I think lastly, my team, they know, I try to tell them this all the time, they're so appreciated. Not everybody can do what we do, and I think that we have a big responsibility to our community, and I think that my girls are aware of that, but I also want them to be aware that how grateful and thankful I am to have such a wonderful set of women to come into work with every day that show up and give 110% and deliver. So I think those are the 3 pieces for me as a manager that I would want my team to know if they were sitting in front of me, for sure.
I I would agree with all of those. I also always tell my team, I don't expect them to take the abuse from the members. If a member is out of control and being abusive, I am willing to step in and take that abuse. I don't want them to be the one that's being cussed or yelled and screamed at. If they feel like they are overwhelmed by that, they can always reach out to me. If I'm not there, they can always reach to our CEO or another manager that's there. I have been extremely proud of my team because they have not complained through this whole process of trying to figure things out. And they've been willing to offer suggestions and send me emails and ask me, what are we going to do about this? They are very smart. They are able to make those decisions. They make them when I'm not there, so they're capable of making them when I am there as well. If they feel like this member has whatever the situation is and we need to figure it out, they have that ability to make that decision just the same as I do. You know, within limits, as long as they're not doing something that is against policies or procedures, and they're trusted for whatever they do, and just be compassionate with the members. About that, we're going to have to be more compassionate than ever, and they know that. So we're already having those conversations about some of the folks that we know are going to be a challenge. So.
Yeah, I love everything you guys have all said. I guess the only thing I would add to it is I just want my team to know that they can call me for anything. You know, a lot of times when we talk with them, it's work related. And there's so much going on in all of our lives that affects the way that we do our jobs. You know, my team knows what they're doing. They've done this for years. They can handle it. They're on autopilot. They are, you know, like you said, Belinda, they're strong, smart women that understand how to do it. And I love hearing their ideas on ways that we can improve on things and make it better. So, you know, yes, I want to hear all of the work related issues that we can, you know, work on. But if you have the random out there ideas of ways that we can improve, absolutely want to hear that. And I also just want to hear from them. You know, we've been remote this whole time, and I would just love to hear their voices, see their faces, you know what's going on in their lives, so we can continue to build our relationships while we're going through all of this.
I'm thankful we haven't had that disconnection.
Absolutely.
I'm sure it's a challenge because
it's hard.
Yeah, I'm sure.
I think, well, I know our team will do a great job. They have all the tools that they need, and if they don't, I'm sure they will tell me if they need anything else, and we'll make sure. Listen to our members, and I know you got to separate out each one's story. Try not to get too involved, but I will say that important to me and important for the team to remember, I will support them. They know their job. I don't have to tell them. And if they have a member out there that they've tried all avenues, extinguished everything, and that person is just irate, cussing them out, if they hang up, I'm going to back that MSR up. They don't have to get abused like that. And I've heard some of that in the past, and they're subjected to a lot, and more than we probably know. And at the end of the day, they just feel like they're beat up. So I will support them, and want to know that that's not going to be a worry.
It is exhausting to take that if you're taking that one call right after the other, and that's going to be a point that I think we need to make sure all of our CSRs and MSRs know that if they need a timeout, they have to tell us, I need a timeout from this because it's a challenge, and everybody's going to need their time away from that telephone for a few minutes to recoup.
Extra breaks.
Yes.
Yeah. I know we try to get like our disconnect calls all done in one day. But since we're not disconnecting right now anyways, you know, I've tried to emphasize if it takes more than a day or two, it's fine. You know, that is draining to do that call over and over and over again. So as long as you're in a good mental state to do it, just make sure you're prepared.
A good question that we just had is, what kind of check-in techniques do you have with your team if they're afraid to come to you? What are you doing to check in with them to make sure that they're handling things well?
If my team ever said to me that they were scared to come to me, I'd be heartbroken because I feel like I failed at my job. My team comes in all the time. There's an open door policy, and I don't ever close my door. So that would be heartbreaking for me. But I think we've utilized some other things. I know, Jamie, I heard you say this. We also have like Microsoft Chat. So if like my girls are in a situation where I can usually hear them because I'm sitting right behind them, But if they're in a situation where they're feeling overwhelmed or they need like a tap in, they can just send me a message real fast and say, difficult call, need help. Or sometimes they'll say, I'm on a chat and I don't know how to verbiage this question. Can you please help me? And I just literally kind of go to their cubicle, work with them, walk them through the process as best I can. So I have never had a situation, thank God, that I have had the girls tell me, I'm scared to come to you over this. Even if they've made a mistake, they'll come to me and say, I did this and I need help fixing it. And I'm like, thanks for being honest. Let's figure it out together.
Yeah.
Yep.
I would agree. We use Teams as well, and we have a group that all of us are in, so we're able to communicate as a group. If somebody wants to ask a question or needs answers, we're doing it all so that everybody gets the same answer. Or they can send them personally to me if they feel like there's something else going on that they need addressed. And I also have an open door policy. And we all know that if they have an issue, they can come see me if they need to. And our CEO does as well. So if they feel like there's something that we need, they know the management.
Like myself, I mean, I've never shut my door unless I'm in a meeting. It's open door policy. If you need to come in and vent, come in and vent. If you need to come in and cry, come in and cry. I've seen both, and it's okay. That escape person, somebody to go to, and like I said, I'm always there. And Stephanie is the manager for that group, and she does a great job. But if she's absent and they need a shoulder to lean on, I'm more than willing.
Absolutely. Yeah, I've tried to stay in contact with my team. And I will admit, I probably haven't done it as much as I would like to. You know, you get busy doing something, you don't realize it's been a full day already. But I've been trying to do one-on-one calls, you know, since we're still remote, just calling in, checking in during the day, you know, how's it going? For those who are in the office, how are things there? And like I said, both personally and professionally, you're just trying to make sure that everyone's doing okay on both realms. We use Microsoft Teams chat as well. I forced them to do webinars so that I could see the faces. They hated me at first. They possibly still do because of it, but it's okay. You got to remember how to do your hair and makeup. Does
that mean they actually had to get dressed and be ready like they were going to work?
It was not a requirement. Of course, several of them did, but yeah.
I would have been that person too.
I see another question that came in from Marcy, and she said, how do you plan to keep members and employees safe when the lobby opens back up, and are you taking any special precautions?
We are going to be providing or making our members wear masks when they come in. We really want them to wear them. If they don't have them, we'll provide them because we did order people to do that. Obviously, we have hand sanitizer available. The gals will be wiping down the stations after members, asking for people we'll be roping off our furniture in the lobby or removing our furniture in the lobby so people can't just hang out. We do have people who like to come in and just hang out on the furniture. So we will be doing some of that to make sure, and we did earlier at each of our stations.
When we opened our lobby, since we've already got it open, we went ahead and purchased some stanchions for the area and did our social distancing plaques on the floor, 6 feet apart. We also took all furniture, all gadgets out of the lobby. So there's nothing to look at. There's nothing to do except pay your bill. so we have all the PPE in place for all the MSRs. So they have the masks if they want to wear them. They have gloves. They have obviously a lot of the sanitized wars. So they have everything they need. If they like, we did not choose to mandate masks coming in the lobby. We didn't want the people to say, you know, I have a right not to wear, and we didn't want to get into people's rights. So we just put a thing on the door that says we appreciate it if you would wear masks. And we have some, and we have some that don't. So kind of where we're at.
We've got the social distancing signs that will go in the lobby, obviously, when we do open it. We're going to have to remove the popcorn machine, you know, no popcorn Fridays anymore. I know. I feel like we'll hear about that one for sure from some members. Another good thing that we're doing is the conference room. So like if you do need to have a meeting in person with another employee, you need to schedule a conference room to do that at 50% capacity. So it's not, you're not sitting in someone's office right in close proximity with them right there. And that way we can kind of keep everybody separated a little bit that way as well.
I had a question from Shelby to Melissa. Melissa, when are you opening your lobby?
We don't have a date at this point to open our lobby. We are doing appointments if our members feel like they need to come in and actually see us and do business with us. And we have had a couple of those appointments, but we don't have a date for our lobby. Our numbers in our county have been still growing the last couple of weeks. So we have not made a definite decision of when that lobby will be open. All employees will be back on July the 6th, but the lobby still won't be open at that point.
Hello.
Technology.
We're trying to figure out who's going to. I don't have any more questions in.
I have a question, I guess, if we've got time.
Yeah.
I would love to hear from the MSRs because I know, Belinda, you said if your team didn't tell you something, you would feel hurt. I too would feel that way, but I know sometimes it's hard to say it to them. So for anyone, what would you want your manager to know about what's been going on during this time? What's been the hardest thing, or what would you have changed?
I personally wouldn't change anything just because I feel like our manager pretty much kept in touch with us. She ran a entre leadership program. What was it called? Dave Ramsey program that every Friday you could kind of check in with her, tell her how you felt, what was the worst part, what was the best part of your day. She also worked with some of us where some of us didn't feel like we were getting a lot of work done at home. So we had the option to come in if we chose to. But she too does have an open door policy for us. And I can speak at least for myself that I feel like she's not only my boss, but she's also a friend. So you can come to her for anything, whether it's personal or work related.
Somebody's cat.
Is there any other comments that anybody would like to say? Feel free to unmute yourself. We have about 5 more minutes, so we would love to hear from you.
I just have one thing to say. I think that one of the key words that I've heard today kind of repeatedly from a lot of people is grace. And I think that we're in the business of humanity, and I think we all just need to remember that moving forward on those weeks or days when we feel like we're at a level 10 and we can't take any more, just offering grace to our members. I think it's important.
And to each other.
Absolutely.
I mean, we've all got challenges, and some people are going to have more difficult members than others. And I think we all just have to realize that everybody's on a different level, professionally and personally in this situation.
Okay. Kurt, Belinda, Melissa, and Jamie, thank you so much for taking the time out of your busy schedule to join us today. It's so enlightening for all of us to learn what other co-ops are doing so we can learn from each other. Thank you so much. Next, we have our peer discussion. Abby Asher from Decatur REMC is our CSR section vice president, and she'll be moderating this session, so I'll turn it over to her.
Thank you.
Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Do we want like a 5-minute break, or are we good just to go on?
Yes, please.
A 5-minute.
Okay, let's just come back at 1:30 then.
Thank you.
All right, we're going to try to get started here. So, of course, our roundtables are always that highly rated part of our section meeting, so we definitely did not want to leave that out. However, it's going to be a little more challenging today in person than in person, but we'll do our best. So we just want everybody to join in the discussion. Feel free to talk freely, but remember to keep your microphones muted until you're ready to talk so we can get that background noise kept out. And then once you're finished commenting, mute you back out. This will also be a great time to switch your meeting view to gallery. So hover over your video screen. You'll see those two icons in the upper right corner. Hover over that icon on the left and you can choose gallery view. This will also allow you to see several folks on the screen at once. We have a few questions to get us started talking with one another, but as you think of any more questions that you want to cover, remember to use that chat box or, just unmute yourself and hop right in. And then keep an eye on those incoming comments so that we don't miss out on those. So the first question to kind of get us going.
Can I make a plea really fast? I would really appreciate if everybody would just be able to turn their cameras on for this piece so we can see people. I know everybody feels awkward. I don't care if you're home in your pajamas, whatever. If you guys could put on your cameras, that'd be great. Please and thank you. Hey, yes, they're coming up. Faces, love, love, love.
Okay, so the first question to get us going, how have other co-ops handled the pandemic? Are you rotating folks back into the office now with the plan to reopen the drive-through and the lobby? So I guess I'll go ahead and start with Decatur. We've been back in the office since May the 11th. Drive-through has been open. Our lobby is still closed. We are scheduled to open it July the 6th. But I mean, otherwise during our shutdown, we were still in the office once a week. We took 2 different shifts and would come in. So that's kind of what we've been doing down this way. Next.
Hi, this is Phyllis from SCI. Can you hear me?
We can. Hi, Phyllis.
Hi. We have been working from home since March. I went home first and everyone else sort of fell in behind me. So I've not seen a difference. I mean, we still operate basically the same as we were. It's sort of been seamless. And we're in the process now of transitioning back to the office starting July 6th. So we're going to start with 2 or 3 going back and then gradually each week until different ones go back. Hopefully we don't have to leave again, but for now we're doing that. But it's worked for us. I've got more productivity actually from some than I did before. Others, it didn't change. If they weren't producing before, they still weren't when they went home. But yeah. So,
I love it, love it.
Needless to say, those are probably the ones going back to the office first. But it hasn't been a huge difference. The one thing we did find out for our co-op is that it works. Especially when we start having our storm outages coming up, that gives us the opportunity to not have people actually have to come back to the office. They can work and do that from home. So it has proven quite a bit of things for us with the equipment, with having people that are available to work. So I think it's a great thing that we've learned with that. The plan is maybe to have part of our staff working from home permanently in the future. Not sure how far that's going to go. I don't know when I'm going back, if I do, to the office. Believe it or not, I'll be retiring very soon, so it won't be a big issue for me. So we've enjoyed it since we've had that going on. That's mine.
Thank you, Phyllis. Anybody else want to chime in?
I'll go ahead and say something. We're completely back to work. I feel like everything pretty much went pretty smooth. At least I can speak for myself. I'm not sure about my entire team, but I feel like a lot of the things we were just kind of happy to get back into the new somewhat norm and seeing everybody. Puts a little bit more perspective on how much you miss your coworkers when you don't see them for so long, especially when a lot of them are your friends. So we've been doing pretty well. I can at least say, and handled everything well and taken the precautions, of course, but things have been going pretty well on our end. And that's at Kosciuszko REMC.
Great. Anybody else?
So I'm Shelby, Clark County REMC here in Sellersburg. I know Jamie and Vicki are with me too on here, but we've actually we started going home. I was the first MSR to go home March 19th, and we've been home for 3 months now. Nothing has seemed to really change except we can't take Verifone payments. But we've actually had one of our cashiers in the office Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays from 7 to 1. She was in the office and able to take payments that we could just transfer the call. If they absolutely wanted to, have, somebody take their physical card payment over the phone. So as far as that goes, it's been pretty well. This was the first week that we had the option to come back to the office if we wanted to. Our CEO, Mr. Vince, has been really kind and very generous as far as giving us the option. If you have kids, you want to stay home full time for the time being, then you can stay home full time, or you can come into the office full time, or you can work part-time office, part-time home. So this was the first week that we started that. And I was able to choose Mondays and Fridays. I'm working at home. Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, I'm in the office. So currently, I'm the only MSR in my building right now, in my little section, which actually works out for this video conference. And so I've been able to meet members in the drive-through if they need an easement notarized or an agent appointment form notarized or anything like that. And the members have been really understanding of our situation. Sometimes working at home, they may say, you sound like you're kind of in a tunnel. I can't really hear you. And so you just kind of, refocus maybe where your head's at compared to like the computer. And then you talk again and you just say, well, can you hear me now? And then they understand and you're able to help them. So as of right now, our drive-through just opened this week as well on Monday through Friday. It's open from 7 to 1 p.m. Our hours are 7 to 4, so it's not open full time. The drive-through is not. Our lobby is not open for our members to come inside. I have no idea when we'll decide to open that lobby. And I don't know when all of our employees are going to come back full time. I don't know if that's going to happen. It's kind of up in the air. So yeah, that's it.
Thank you. Anybody else want to chime in? Does anybody want to open the floor with any questions or discussions?
What was your question again, dear?
Did anybody have any questions they want to go ahead and throw out there now?
How are you as MSR staff feeling about opening up and the incoming phone calls from our members? Are you nervous, or is this something that you feel like you have been presented with the equipment and knowledge that you need for those questions to be coming through?
It's a good one.
Anyone?
This group's chattier than that. Usually when we're together, everybody's got questions.
I'd like to talk, so I'll answer the question. I think that our manager, we actually just went over our like disconnect information kind of yesterday, kind of our, first forefront game plan. So, and we were offered this opportunity to be able to communicate and try to understand, what's going on. And we have Vicky and Jamie on here who are in billing and collections that are able to listen to, what you guys have to say and listen to Alex this morning. So I think our management team, leadership team, whatever you would like to call it, has done a really good job as backing us up and being supportive, and communicating like, hey, we're working through this new normal together, and so just trying to be understanding of members' phone calls when they call in, that, like Alex said, they're going to be in a situation that they may have never been in before. So just being understanding and being upfront with your members, what your game plan is if you have one, and what's going to, go on, and communicate on all kinds of different platforms as much as you can. So they can still feel, you're trying to reach out to them, even if they can't see you face to face in person.
That's great.
Abby, do you feel like your office is ready to come back?
So I don't know if I'm just the type of person that I'm so optimistic, but I'm not scared about it. Like, I feel like we deal with this during moratorium. I know we're on a different level right now, but I mean, for us, it's going to be the same. We talk to these people, some of them every month, on them not being able to pay their bill. And, so for us working with arrangements and, getting them the resources they need, like, we're used to it. So I feel like we're ready here.
I feel like we are completely ready. I agree completely with you, Abby, that we are used to this on our everyday basis, and it's definitely going to help having that extra, leeway to extend the arrangements out and work with them. So if anything, it might even make our job just a little bit easier to have that, those tools at hand and being able to offer that information out to them and those options that we can work with them a little bit longer.
Comment here from Henry County. They feel that their members are aware of everything and know that we are going to work with them as much as possible.
Okay, where's all these chatty people at?
Yeah, guys, and feel free to, like, this doesn't have to stay COVID and pandemic related. I mean, I know we have tons of stuff we love to talk about.
I think you just got a good message. I could read it fast.
Let me see what it says. Okay, what about payment arrangements that are granted and actually extend into the moratorium period? Any thoughts on how these are going to be handled? We can't disconnect after December 1st, and then they are protected until March 15th.
I think we're all going to be facing that. I mean, some of these balances, these people are going to struggle with as far as that moratorium. I mean, that is a concern because we're going to go into moratorium with large balances, which means we're going to end moratorium with even larger balances. But it's going to be a challenge we all have to figure out and know. Our co-op is very aware that this is going to get worse before it gets better, because when the $600 extra unemployment goes away and people still aren't going back to work, people are going to struggle even more. So we're going to have to have more plans in place as we continue to move forward, and we fully expect that this is going to move us right to the moratorium and we're going to have unpaid balances, but we'll just have to work through it. Good question.
I feel like we have a plan of action into taking our traditional biller members to possibly on prepay. I don't know if any of you guys offer that, but to prevent going into moratorium with an account balance, that we're offering them to go on prepay and moving some of that account balance into what we call back debt. So they can slowly pay that down without feeling it in their pockets by the time moratorium hits again. Which question?
People are having your members.
I've got another question.
My coworker has a question really quick, Stacy.
Okay,
So in regards to prepaid, I didn't know if basically the co-ops are setting like a percentage they need to pay on their account balance, or if you're creating a max amount that can go into debt management. Like if there's a certain threshold, like not just pay 50% of the account, or if basically you're not allowing someone to put a denomination higher than, let's say, 500 in debt management or something like that. I guess where do the numbers fall?
For us, I think normally our debt management is $1,000 limit on that. But I think we're gonna have to be lenient on that. And again, it's gonna be ugly because when you're putting $2,000 on a debt management plan, you're gonna go into moratorium with part of that. And there's nothing we can do about it. It's gonna be a process we just have to do. But I don't think we have an option but to extend that debt management out to help them.
To adjust your percentages then?
We've talked about it, but our CEO is not at this point ready to adjust that. He said we might, as we move forward. I brought that up because we're 50-50 right now. So we've talked about whether we want to adjust that. Right now, we're not going to. We might as we move forward.
I was curious what everybody else is doing as well.
Yeah.
I just heard from Carmen, and she says we currently have a $1,000 debt management limit with a 50-50.
Are others adjusting their debt management? Right, compensate for that. Boy, this group is quiet, and we're never this quiet in this room.
Okay, we have
Stacy, there's a couple comments from Marcy at 147, like on the chat. Marcy and Sabrina.
So from Marcy, it's actually, and she says, this is actually Hannah at Orange. So sorry, I keep calling you Marcy because you're showing up as Marcy. I apologize. She says, I'm not incredibly nervous about having to take the calls, just a little nervous about being around so many people in the office. I pretty much know where my family has been and who they have been around and how careful they've been. But with so many members coming to the office, I worry about the exposure the employees and other members may be getting. Most of the members who physically come in are elderly, and she worries for them. And then Sabrina says, have coworkers in other departments not realized that CSRs never stopped working? I've had a couple people not realize we still worked our normal Monday through Friday, 7:30 to 4:30. I know that some of you can comment on this, and I expect you to comment on it.
Yeah, absolutely. It never stops for us, right?
No, it does not. I mean, our girls, like I said, our team answered the phone 7:30 to 4:30, whether they were at home or at the office or processing mail or the night box. They worked every single day, making sure that our members' needs were taken care of. And that's probably why we haven't had member complaints or members asking when we're opening, because they really haven't noticed any difference. We've still been providing the service, and we've really done a great job taking care of them through all of this, and I think they've appreciated that. So yeah, we have had some employees question some other people, have you guys truly worked through this process? And yes, our groups have all truly worked through this process. I think my biggest thing about coming back is I've been worried about my team coming back, whether it's somebody that's a little older, somebody that's got a new baby, somebody that's got other health issues. That has been my argument every time that we've talked about whether we open the office or whether we open the drive-through or whether we bring employees back. Every time I say back to the CEO, these are my concerns. I have concerns of this, this, and this. We've worked really hard to keep everybody healthy, and our goal is to continue to keep everybody healthy. So the slower we move at this, the better we are going to be at keeping everybody healthy as long as possible. So that's been my biggest concern for this whole process as a manager.
Stacy, how is REC handling everything?
Say that again.
How is IEC handling everything?
Well, kind of like this, we've taken everything as digital as we possibly can. We within our teams are using Microsoft Teams to really talk back and forth, and that's been really, really good because most of our team, I know Lena's right here with me too, we are used to being in the office together and bouncing ideas off of one another. So at least to be able to jump on Teams, we can do that and see each other and get that facial connection. That's really, really important. Our office is officially back open, but a lot of people aren't coming in. We made it kind of a personal decision up until the 4th of July. And then after that, I think there still will be a lot of flexibility as to working from home. And what we're trying to do as a team is really have one day a week that we know everyone's going to be scheduled to be in the office. That's the day that we're going to have meetings and bounce ideas off one another and just kind of know that you can count on that one day. And I know our field guys are back out at co-ops who are comfortable having them, so they're starting that up again. If you guys have seen any of IEC's social media, you'll see Safety Travels with Chuck program. That is new, and that's a fun one. So make sure to check IEC's Facebook page and click on the link. You can read Chuck's blog as he's traveling around the state doing this really cool safety tour. He's got an amazing little Chuck caricature logo that's on his truck doors that's really fun. And he's going to be trying some campfire recipes that readers from Indiana Connection are submitting. And he's staying in a camper. For those of you who haven't heard, he is literally driving around the state with his truck with a camper behind him, doing safety training because, you know, it's still kind of dangerous to stay in hotels, and some hotels aren't open in certain areas. And in some cases, he's even parking and camping in the parking lots at the co-op. So we're just doing what we can. I think like everyone else, we're taking it day by day and just letting people come back as it's comfortable for them. We want to make sure that visitors who come into IEC are really comfortable. And we're just, you know, just taking it, just doing what we can.
I saw there was another comment in the comment box about possibly taking temperatures at the doors and how other co-ops are feeling about that. Any
co-op's not taking temps, but if my girls call in and have a fever, they're off work for 48 to 72 hours till fever's gone.
We made the decision not to take temperatures of our employees at our office, but if we feel somebody is ill and they have not reported it, we have the right to walk up to them and ask them to take their temperature. And we have all the equipment there at the office for us to be able to do that. So we are trusting that our employees are going to be honest with us, but if we feel like they could have a fever, we are going to be checking them.
We take our temperature at home, so we take our own temperature. And if we're not feeling well, then they trust that we'll stay home and not come to the office.
I see a comment here from Wynn. They have been taking employee temperatures for 7 weeks, and then starting Monday, employees will be taking their own temperatures before they return for work.
Yeah, Decatur's the same. We trust the employees will do what's right, and if they don't feel good, then they'll stay home.
Do you guys have any other information or topics that you guys want to talk on that maybe even isn't just about the COVID-19?
I have one from earlier on. Somebody said, Mindy says, does anyone have newly implemented broadband service? And if so, how is it going?
Yeah. We honestly are kind of looking into broadband. It was started to be implemented in January and had to be put on hold once the COVID came. So this past month, we started doing surveys and making personal calls to our members to hear their input on that, to try and see if the demand is there to move forward. I know some of us are really crossing our fingers. I personally am, because I hate my Wi-Fi. So any other option out there would be great, but it seems like our feedback is good. Our MSRs had done an amazing job just being on top of the phone calls and so forth. And a lot of our members, I feel like we're pretty good with taking that 3-minute survey that they had to hear us go through, just probably to give their input on that. Do you guys have any other thing?
Pittmont rolled fiber broadband about a year and a half ago, so we're active. We did have to postpone our installations once COVID hit. We teed those back up about 30 days ago, but we've scaled back, and we also have risk assessments that we're going through with members as we schedule the home installations for our technicians. So
just curious, did you guys do any surveys before moving forward with that, or did you just jump right in and hope for the best?
They were very methodical about it. They did a lot of surveys, and we have a lot of rural communities that don't have a lot of options. And so, I mean, it's been really neat, though. I will share, it's been really neat to talk to the members who, I'll give you an example, especially now during COVID, right? Because we did some temp installs, which we called like emergency installations. So both family members, like maybe one was at Purdue and one was at a hospital. Now they're both being forced to work from home, and they don't have active internet that can sustain that, right? They may have like 8 megabits up and down for their speed. So 8 megabits per second, our lowest package is 250. So they've got kids home from school and they're saying, hey, I can't operate. We can't even have anybody on at the same time. So Titmont also made the decision to go to a lot of the local high schools and install Wi-Fi on the outside schools so that they could physically drive their children there and submit homework for those rural areas that don't have any other options. We have trucks out there that have done that. It's been really cool to watch that happen. And yeah. But yes, they were deliberate about doing surveys. And if you'd like information on that, let me know and I'll get some to you.
I've just got another comment here from Orange. Let's see, they stopped installing fiber for a time, and then later, if members were comfortable with us in their homes, we wore protection and continued installing.
Is that Orange? Are you guys also asking risk assessment questions? We have like a small survey that we developed, like asking if there's been anybody in the home with a fever. And then we're also talking to them about like expectations when our installers are on site. So like one of the things I have talked to members about is please make sure whether in the home you're maintaining 6 feet of social distancing. We ask that no additional family friends are over at the time of the install to maintain safety risks and keep low as possible, whether in the home. And then lastly, our technicians, their masks, they'll gown if they request it, gloves on, and they're also doing booties to minimize any transfer risk while they're in the home.
Just curious, and this is kind of off of the pandemic again, do you guys have like a snowbird package for your broadband?
No, we do temporary disconnects for vacation. Is that what you're referring to?
Is there a reconnect fee then?
No, we do. So the way we have it currently set up is it has to be for more than 3 months at a time, and they only get a 1 freebie a year.
A one what?
They get 1 freebie a year, and that disconnect, that temporary vacation mode disconnect, has to be at least 3 months. Most of our members, if they're going to snowbird, you know, it's between January and March. I'm not going to squander if it's like 45 days, they're going to get it. Like, but they're not going to get another one then until the next year. It's a 12-month.
Okay, I think that's great. I noticed that as we were doing the surveys is that a lot of our members, we have another internet service that offers that. So that was one of the questions that I definitely put in my comment box so that we could look into that.
If you have any more questions too regarding that, don't ever hesitate to hit me up on email.
Okay, I'll definitely do that.
I can answer questions, and if I don't know, I'll get the answer through marketing or the other teams that help develop some of the early process. We also moved over to Connect, so I can help you with anything that way as well. I have to be out of here by 2 o'clock. I have an appointment I got to get back to Lafayette for. But it's been great being around all of you today and hearing everybody speak, and thanks for being open. It's been a great format today. I've loved it.
Thank you so much, Belinda.
You're welcome. Holler at me if you need anything.
Thank you.
We had another question come in regarding those members who are always late pays. When the no disconnect moratorium went into effect, they just stopped paying even though nothing had changed for them. So is anyone else kind of seeing that? And
we have several of those that have just stopped paying because they're used to just waiting till the last minute. And we have one who has fed us a very long story. They've been laid off we know they haven't been because we know them personally, told me they didn't qualify for unemployment, has had quite the lengthy story, and all of it we know is a lie, but we're still gonna have to treat them the same as the others whenever we go through the process. So yeah, there's the regulars on our side anyway.
Parking validation.
Anybody else? Questions, thoughts?
Has anyone else canceled their member appreciation events?
Appreciation what?
I don't think they can hear me.
So the question was, has anybody else canceled their member appreciation events? Ours at Henry County is not until October, and it hasn't been decided yet. I know we're starting to discuss that process and decide what that's going to look like if we can have it. So we have not done anything at this point. I saw somebody said they had. Our annual meeting was canceled and no rescheduled date as of now. That was Sarah. Anybody else have thoughts on their events coming up?
We canceled our annual meeting and actually are skipping it this year, and we'll just move forward next year at our next one.
Same here, Nicole. That's what we did. But just last year we started a fish fry for our members, and normally it's in May, but we actually postponed that to October. So hopefully we can actually go through with that. But our annual meeting is canceled altogether this year.
Karen says they are doing virtual. Shelby is doing a drive-through annual meeting.
Oh, awesome. I'd like to know how your drive-through annual meeting goes. Ours is normally, we call it co-op day, and we're moving our annual meeting to co-op day this year in October for the first time, but it's usually more of a fun-filled event with bounce houses and all kinds of other stuff, and we're not sure how all of that can work with everything and sanitizing and that sort of thing. So that's why we have not made a decision yet.
Sarah would like to know, what will the drive-through annual meeting consist of? Russ Shelby.
Can someone from Russ Shelby answer that for us?
Brad.
Brad, what are your plans for the drive-through annual meeting? What's that going to look like?
She said, we are trying. Okay, Brad, not a problem. Oh, Brad, we're here for you.
That was great. Well, while we're waiting to see if they pop on, Henry County wants to know about COVID testing for employees. Is anybody offering that, doing that?
I know Costco is not.
Decatur's not.
It says,
They will drive through and get a gift and vote. And then we will have drive-through voting, and our meeting portion will be streamed for our members.
interesting.
I walked out for a second. I know Kankakee is doing an annual meeting drive-through kind of thing as well. I don't know if we have anyone from Kankakee on right now. I saw it earlier. Is anyone from Kankakee still on?
Orange did a virtual drive-through meeting.
We had tents and tables set up, allowed the members to drive through with their registration cards and registered them with masks and gloves. We gave them their gift, streamed the meeting via Facebook.
It's a lot of work.
Yeah, we just had our annual meeting virtually this past Friday and did the same thing. Just went on Facebook Live and did a little bit of talking and announced the votes, and that was it.
Hello, Kankakee Valley here.
Hello.
Can you guys hear us?
We can. Can you hear us?
I can hear you. So there was a question about the annual meeting, and yes, we are doing a drive-through annual meeting this year. We're still kind of putting plans together, but what I can speak to is that members will be able to come to the facility we've always held it at, drive through, they'll register and get a registration gift. They can do voting at the site. They'll get a box dinner. And then from there, they can either head home or they can join us behind the facility where we are planning to have our entertainment. We'll have live entertainment that was already booked for our regular meeting. Or like I said, that they can go home. So that's our meeting plan. We do use survey and ballot system. So people can vote in advance by mail or online. So the option to vote at the event is for those who are comfortable with one of those methods. So that's our meeting as it's planned. We are a September 10th meeting.
Thank you. You're far away, but is that Amanda talking?
Yes, it's Amanda.
Oh, thank you, Amanda.
What other questions are there?
Abby, I know we had a question. I don't know if I passed it on to you about scams and what scams are happening out at the co-ops right now and kind of how you're dealing with them, or if there's any new ones you've heard about and want to share, so if they come up in another area, everyone's aware.
Calls last week or week before, I think the gals were taking that people were calling and saying they had 30 minutes to make a payment or they were going to be disconnected. I think that's gone around quite a few. I heard Duke had the same calls. So obviously, you know, we're putting things out on Facebook and things for people not to be giving their personal information, and we would not call and demand a payment over the phone immediately. So that's something to be aware of that we've heard of anyway. That's the only one that I know of on our side.
Yeah, so I think that our marketing department, we had heard about those scams from you, Melissa, and the email kind of went out. And I feel like our marketing department had sent out, I'm pretty sure, Facebook information. I'm not exactly sure if we did phone calls, IVR phone calls, just to kind of let our members know that, you know, what's going on and to not give out your personal information, to prep them in case it does come our way.
So we had one Duke Energy phone call scam that came in, and then 2 days later, this all happened just last week and the week prior. 2 days later, we had a post on Facebook of one of our members that said, hey, there are two guys that are pretending to be REMC, Clark County REMC, coming to your home and telling you that they need your help checking locates. Would you come outside? So we did have a couple members, and they all went to people's homes who were elderly. They were older, you know, to try to take advantage of them. A couple of them, that said member did actually believe that it was Clark County REMC, came out of their home, let that person come inside, and ended up stealing things from them. They stole money, they stole jewelry, other things, you know, personal items. So that got on Facebook. We saw that, told all of our communications and marketing team that this was happening. Immediately, like not even 10 minutes later, Amber in marketing created a Facebook post, immediately put that Facebook post up there. They were in all of southern Indiana, I mean, all over our territory. And it was two sets, so two different groups. 2 days after that, there was another group of two males, I guess, that were claiming to be REMC, a white truck that wasn't labeled, that had a flatbed trailer hooked to it, knocked on the member's door, said, "Hey, I'm with Clark County REMC. I need to come inside and check on something." That said member did not allow them to come inside their home, shut the door on them, and then called us. So we did a police report and all of that, made an Instagram, Facebook post, tried to communicate as much as we could to our members that, hey, our trucks are labeled. We have our logo on everything. We will not ask to come inside the home. Everything we do is outside. And then we also had that phone call too, Melissa, as far as the press one. My mother-in-law actually got a call that said, "Hey, this is Clark County REMC. You're behind on your payment. You need to press 1 to make your payment." And she immediately called me. So it's real and it's out there and it's scary. So hopefully we put it out there as much, enough that those guys who were doing that are scared and went somewhere else. Hopefully not on your service territory. But
That's crazy. I think Decatur had the same thing where some of our members had gotten a phone call saying that, yeah, 30 minutes, we're going to disconnect. And then same thing, our communication gal, I think, spreaded it around pretty quick. I don't like how quiet everybody is.
Carmen had a great comment. She said, "It's sad that scammers can fake our company name, but our carrier can't get our caller ID to say Northeastern REMC."
Amen.
What else? Do you guys want to talk about stuff that's not pandemic related? I know we've kind of been beating that one into the ground. Anything else going on that's been on your mind since it's been a little while since we've gotten all together as a group?
I'm amazed because we're more chatty than this.
I know.
Has anybody actually taken on prepaid for the co-ops that haven't had it prior to all of the pandemic?
That's a good one.
I take that as a no.
we already had prepaid, but prepaid is, I think, a blessing to have as an opportunity to give our members, especially when they have the 60, 90-day balances, because that is one thing that, as far as disconnects go, when that happens, when it comes time for those members to pay those high bills, we are going to give our members the option to put those past due balances in a prepaid arrangement. So I like it. And then also, I think at first I didn't like prepaid, but now just the past year or so, the more I think about it, the more I actually like it, because, and I've talked to members before and we'll tease back and forth. One member said it keeps me honest. I don't have a 30, 60-day, 90-day bill behind because I have to make sure that I pay this daily. So then I don't have to really worry about that, being behind on my electric bill. And so some members really like it and some members don't. And so that's an aspect of the prepaid that I like. And I think it is a blessing for us co-ops who have it at this time.
I know what my coworker has done. She came up with a brilliant idea right kind of at the beginning of the pandemic. We pulled a report with the high deposits that have been sitting on these people's accounts that have not been able to pay on time to get that deposit back, and had made personal phone calls herself to offer them prepaid by using that deposit that would pay off their large debt and make their life a little bit less stressful as they were going into this pandemic. And she seemed to have gotten some amazing feedback on that. And it has worked out very well. the members appreciate it because that's less stress if they had a $250 bill when they had $300 in their deposit sitting that they haven't been able to get back. So it's basically a bank account that they can never access.
I know my group had
I have a question. With that, Nicole, calling those members with those high deposits, we have a protocol. If they go 12 consecutive months with no more than 2 late payments, we refund their deposit, on the 13th month's bill. So I'm assuming that with that, you guys kind of ex-nayed your deposit refund rule, and you just, if they wanted to go prepaid, you just refunded their deposit straight away for prepaid. Is that what you did?
Our deposits get earned back on the 11th month after 10 months of on-time payment. The members I were calling, I actually looked at their account history and they had a trend of not paying on time. So I knew based on their history, they probably were not going to earn the deposit back, at least right away. So I only called them if it benefited them. I only called them if their deposit covered the balance and gave them credit. I didn't call anyone to collect. So everyone I started on prepaid at least had a minimum of, let's say, $75 in credit. I started one account and they actually had $640 in credit.
Dang.
So they didn't have to worry about paying a bill for 3-4 months. And that was a huge weight off their shoulders.
That's awesome.
Just a thought. And our debt collection went down, and also, a lot of people had freedom from their bills weighing them down.
My team had a question on there a while ago and I missed it. I'm sorry. They wanted to know if anybody else had waived deposits through the pandemic. I know with working at home and taking membership information from home, we were not able to run credit histories because of the secured access and all of that. So we couldn't necessarily collect deposits. Did anybody else do waivers of deposits during the pandemic?
We didn't, but we do prepay too. So if they didn't pay the deposit, that was kind of the only other option they had was to go on prepay.
Same here. Same as her. Yeah.
Same here.
Melissa, how are you verifying identity if you didn't have the availability to run that process?
We were making them send in their identification with the membership application. So they were doing their membership and sending in their driver's license, whatever, to make sure we were dealing with the correct people. But that was really the only thing we could do because we didn't have secure lines up to be able to run the credit reports.
We weren't waiving deposits. It was, they're new customers coming onto the lines. They needed to pay their deposit. We actually didn't have very many people moving around. We're getting slammed now with people moving left and right, but we didn't have a whole lot of people moving during the last, at least the first 2 months of the quarantine.
Yeah, we seem to have a lot of people moving for whatever reason. The girls were doing regular memberships every day. I mean, we were having multiple.
I've probably had about 4 transfer service calls while you guys were on this call today.
Yeah, I saw somebody else said they had tons of people moving the whole time. It seemed like we also had that. I mean, it seemed like I was forwarding messages and seeing the girls doing transfers daily. I mean, a lot.
Sarah S. made the comment, hold on, yeah, I'm on. Sarah S. made the comment that they enforced deposits even more so than before the quarantine due to the risk of delinquent accounts. Yeah. And then Wynn asked, has anyone else had problems getting membership applications back?
Ours seem to have been coming in perfectly fine. We take applications on, online. So when my coworker was working from home, who normally does that, she was able to take care of everything and contact them and do as needed. So we have not had any problems and it has not slowed down, and we still do require the deposits if you don't go on prepay.
Okay, anybody else? I know one last question I think I have that maybe we can talk about is what is you guys' thoughts for our normal section meeting that we usually have this fall? I know, of course, some of us have travel restrictions right now, but they're going to open come, next month. But what is everybody's thoughts on having something this fall? And don't speak at once, please.
I personally think it's a great idea. I feel like obviously this has been a great meeting, but I do see that there are a lot of people who are nervous about opening up or actually speaking up and speaking their mind on certain subjects. So I feel like if a lot of the traveling has been lifted and that you're allowed to travel, I feel like it's something that we should maybe push forward to.
And I see Mindy comments we would still like to have the meeting. Brad says plan on having it and see how the rest of the year plays out. And that's what we're looking at from an IUC perspective. The challenge we face right now is if we are still required to follow social distancing, which I think we probably will be at that point, we can only fit a much smaller number of people in our training room. So that would be a challenge, just figuring out logistics for that, and then whether or not folks are comfortable eating at restaurants or staying in hotels at that point. So we just want to make sure that we have opinions from everyone and kind of know where you're standing. It's tough to move forward and plan a meeting without knowing very much. I know all of you know this right now, but we need to get speakers nailed down and things like that. So there will hit a point when you just have to make the call. Do we feel comfortable a few months from now doing this or not? And we haven't quite hit that point yet, but as things change and are evolving, please feel free to reach out to me or reach out to any of your officers and just get us feedback on what you're thinking, what the culture at your co-op is right now, just based on the pandemic and how everyone's feeling. Are the travel restrictions going to lift? And that way it'll really help us as we're making those plans getting here into the fall.
Maybe you just said that and I didn't pay attention. Do we have a deadline to possibly hear from everybody, or maybe can we send out another survey as it gets closer so that we can actually decide if we need to finalize a speaker or not? I mean, I would hate to get that scheduled and then half the people, or we have another round of this come in October, or,
So in my closing comments this afternoon, I was going to remind everybody that we are going to do a survey for today's presentation, obviously, to see what everybody thought and have feedback on that. And then that was going to be a question, was how do you feel about a fall conference? Would you attend? Would you not attend? How does your co-op feel about that? So we definitely need people to fill that survey out and complete that so that we know where we stand and what we're facing, so that we can move forward depending on what that situation is.
Yeah, and at this point, I don't know that we have an exact deadline. I know a lot of things are changing here in the next, 2 or 3 weeks as we get through the 4th of July. That's when the amount of people that are allowed to be in one area is going to start happening. And so I think we're going to see here in the next month, our numbers starting to rise once that's allowed. Are we seeing cases increase? Are we going to have more statewide rules and regulations? Is it going to be kind of moved down to a county or local level? We don't know, but I think in the next month, we're going to see yes or no what it's going to look like for the fall. One thing to keep in mind, though, is that even if it does work out and we are able to have an in-person meeting in the fall, we will have a virtual component of that. That's just something that we're doing at IEC right now. We want to make sure we can get as many people involved as we can. So just know that if an in-person meeting is scheduled, you're still going to have that virtual option because we want to make sure we can get everyone involved.
Okay, last call. Does anybody have anything else? I don't think I've seen anything on the chat come through.
Yeah, I haven't seen any new questions.
Okay, so speak now or forever hold your peace. Okay, have at it, Melissa.
So I feel like this has been a very informative day, and I hope that everybody is taking something away from this outside the box training for us that we've never tried before. And I think we had a great attendance today. So as I said a while ago, we will be sending out a survey. Please watch your email for that. If you complete that survey for us and let us know your feedback and your thoughts on the fall conference, you will be entered to win one of Alex's books that she discussed with us earlier today that she has out. So we will share that with one lucky person who completes that survey. We are interested in hearing your thoughts on anything that you have to share with us. At this point, I feel like the best plan of attack is just for us to move forward in planning maybe that in-person meeting with the virtual option as well. And we'll see how that goes. If there are folks at your co-op who are unable to join us today and would like to watch the video event, please reach out to Stacy. She'll be glad to provide that information on how somebody at your co-op can go back and watch today's event. And I just want to take this time to say thank you so much for joining us, bearing with us as we worked through this process today, since it was something new for us. I don't feel like we had very many technical issues, so that was a very good thing for all of us. So everybody have a great afternoon, and we'll see you again soon. Bye.
Thank you, everyone.
Bye, guys. Thank you.
Try to get started here.